Welcome to Reddit Stories, where OP's girlfriend is demanding he fire his cleaning lady. Am I the jerk for not firing the cleaning lady because my girlfriend wants me to? I'm using a throwaway account because this whole argument feels dumb to me, and I'm embarrassed that it's become a real conflict. I need people to weigh in for me. I'm male, 42. I've lived in the same 2-bedroom house for the past 11 years. I'm a widower, and my son lives with me most of the time. He spends some weekends with my in-laws. I work full-time, and I handle everything a single parent usually handles. About 2 years ago, for my 40th birthday, I decided to give myself a gift and hire a cleaning lady to come every other week. It's been one of the best decisions I've ever made. She usually comes while I'm at work. She's one of those people who doesn't complain. She doesn't cut corners and doesn't try to rush anything. She's friendly, respectful, has never once given me a reason not to trust her. I come home from work, and the place looks like a fresh start. That feeling is worth every single dollar. The first time she ever took something from my fridge, she texted me about it. She said she'd grabbed a Pepsi because she needed sugar and asked if I wanted her to leave me money for it. I told her she didn't need to pay me back for anything and that she's allowed to take a break, grab a drink, or make a simple snack if she needs one. I want her to be comfortable. Since then, she'll sometimes have a pop or a juice, and one time she toasted a single piece of bread. She's never opened my leftovers or gone through anything besides the basics. She works long days and goes from house to house, so I don't blame her for needing a little something to keep going. It's never bothered me. My girlfriend, who's 38, has been staying over a couple of nights a week. She doesn't live with me. She's only been in my life for about 5 months, so she came in long after my cleaning lady. She was over the other night and said that she saw my cleaning lady stealing from the fridge. I told her that I gave her permission and there's nothing sneaky going on. My girlfriend said it's unprofessional and that if I don't put a stop to it now, it could lead to boundary crossing. I laughed a little because in 2 years, nothing even close has happened. My girlfriend told me to fire her before it gets worse. I genuinely don't get it. Why would I change something that works perfectly? I've never had any issues. I've never had anything go missing. The worst thing she's ever done is make a piece of toast and feel embarrassed about it. I asked myself if I'm missing something. Am I weird, or is this whole thing blown way out of proportion? Most people in my life think I'm overthinking it, but the argument with my girlfriend got so heated that now I'm here. Not the jerk. Your cleaning lady, your place, your choice. I think your girlfriend is the one being weird about it. There are so many people who would love to find help like this. Someone who shows up, works hard, and doesn't take advantage of you. She's not eating your meals or rummaging around. She's having a pop or a glass of juice with permission. That's okay. She's a human being doing a physically demanding job. Please do not fire her, as she is a rarity. Your girlfriend sounds like she's looking down on this woman for being a cleaning lady. She's cold and unkind. That's not a good look. You're the jerk. Your girlfriend's right. Your cleaning lady is paid to work. She should bring her own food or drinks. If you want to give her breaks, you can put that in a contract. Letting her take whatever she wants from your fridge is inappropriate. She might take something that isn't up for grabs, or she might contaminate something that you're planning to eat. Update the next day. Okay, wow. I had no idea a silly debate between me and my girlfriend would blow up like this. I read through a lot of it, and then I called her to talk things out. I told her that the cleaning lady only takes basic stuff like a drink or a piece of bread. She's not making full meals. She's not taking advantage of me. I said hauling snacks around all day isn't realistic for someone cleaning multiple houses. My girlfriend said she still thought it was unprofessional and she wouldn't be comfortable with anyone grabbing food in her home. Then she took it a step further and asked why I even needed a cleaning lady. She told me to clean my own place. She said I should act like an adult and stop relying on someone else to mommy me. That really irritated me. I'm not a kid. I told her I'm 42, and I hired a cleaning lady on my 40th birthday because I wanted to free up my weekends. I like coming home to a clean place after working all week. I can afford it, and it doesn't hurt anyone. She told me again that I was acting like a man baby. Then she said when we move in together or get married, the cleaning lady will have to go because she doesn't want a stranger in her house. She told me I need to get off my butt and start doing chores myself. I told her I'm not firing someone who's never failed me. I'm not reorganizing my life for something that doesn't make sense. She hung up. Whatever. I'm honestly too old for this crap. I'm going to bed. Thanks, everyone. Final update. A few hours later, she texted me that she can't waste time with a lazy man who'd rather give full control of his house to a maid instead of getting off his butt to do the house cleaning himself. I wished her well, and she told me to go forget myself. So, I guess that's that. I'll be spending the holidays with my son in my very clean home, and I'm not losing sleep over it. Thank you, everyone. Bro, she's extremely jealous. She's throwing insults at you over a woman she barely sees and who's working, not flirting. This is a massive red flag. Her jealousy has probably been building for a while. You just didn't notice it because the relationship is still new. This type of stuff doesn't go away, it gets worse. If she's like this about someone who has literally hired help, imagine how she'd react to coworkers or friends. You can try having a conversation about her jealousy, but it's kind of hard to discuss an issue when the other person's opinion is based on non-logical emotion. I'm not the kind of person to jump to suggesting to break things off, but this is bad. I mean, you wouldn't be here posting this if you didn't already know that. You're just looking for confirmation, so here it is. You're the jerk. You're choosing your cleaning lady over your girlfriend and pretending that you aren't. She's uncomfortable, and she doesn't actually need a reason for that. If you respected her, you'd at least sit down and talk about this face to face. It's weird that you're defending her this hard, and it's hard not to wonder if your cleaning lady is attractive, because that might be the real issue. Some people just don't like another woman being in their home, even if she's there professionally. Either way, it feels like you're not taking your girlfriend's feelings seriously, and that's disappointing. OP. It's not a competition. I'm not choosing anyone over anyone. I'm at an age where I don't feel bad about hiring help if it gives me more time to relax. I also take my car in for an oil change instead of doing that myself. That doesn't mean I'm choosing a mechanic over my girlfriend. I've known my cleaning lady long before I even met my girlfriend. If I wanted something to happen, it would have happened back then. Even if she were the most beautiful woman on the planet, I wouldn't cross that line because then I'd lose someone that I could rely on. How she looks isn't the point at all. Sounds to me like OP's girlfriend might be living in a different version of reality than he is. Right, where the cleaning lady is just waiting for her chance to seduce her boyfriend. Meanwhile, the cleaning lady's actually just enjoying a snack during her busy day. I wonder if OP's girlfriend would still think it's inappropriate if she were the one cleaning houses all day. Yeah, sometimes we can zoom in on something in our own minds so much that it feels real to us, no matter how real it actually is. It's important to stay grounded and to not let mental drama overtake our actual lives. So be mindful of what you water in the garden of your mind, because that's what makes it grow. Husband having an affair with married coworker after 16 years together. My husband and I have been together for 16 years. We have 3 kids who are 8, 6, and 2. Our oldest has cancer. The woman he cheated with has 2 kids of her own, one in preschool and one already an adult. I mention all of this because the amount of damage done stretches far beyond my marriage. It cuts straight through 2 families. Before everything fell apart, I thought we had a decent marriage. It wasn't perfect, but it was loving. We had occasional disagreements, like any couple, but they were usually brief, and both of us would apologize in the end. We struggled with conflict sometimes, but I always believed we were on the same page about wanting to do better. I asked him many times if we could go to therapy together so we could improve how we communicated. He always said he needed to think about it, but never followed through. I eventually went on my own to work on my own reactions, my own defense mechanisms, anything that might help bring peace between us. Outside of conflict, our life felt warm. We laughed a lot. We were affectionate. We checked in with each other often. Whenever I asked if he was happy, his answer was always yes. Whenever I asked if he loved me, he said he did. I believed him because I had no reason not to. Then, last week, on my birthday, he sat me down and told me that he had fallen out of love with me. He said he wanted a divorce. He said he had been feeling this way for years and waiting for the right moment, as if that existed. He said brutal things about how he dreaded being in the same room with me. He said being intimate with me felt like a chore. I was absolutely shattered. He became so harsh and cold that it was like he was a different person. He had never talked to me like that in 16 years. 16 years of a shared life, together and with our 3 kids, slipping through my fingers while I tried to catch my breath. He said he wanted 50-50 custody. I could barely process that sentence. My entire life revolves around those kids. I couldn't imagine being without them, not even for a day. My family and friends gently asked me if I thought there might be someone else. I told them no. He worked long days, but he had always been a hard worker. And with my 12-hour shifts, he often handled school pickups and evening routines. Sometimes he'd say he had to work through lunch or finish late, and my parents would step in and watch the kids longer. I was grateful and I never questioned it. But then I looked through his phone. I found videos of him and his coworker fooling around at work. I found hotel videos, private photos. I found messages discussing arguments that he and I had, where she told him I needed to get a clue and how glad she was that he put it back on me. There were even selfies of him in my son's chemo room waiting for her replies. The affair had been going on for over a year. My son was diagnosed last September. I screenshotted everything and sent it to myself before confronting him. When I did, he admitted it. He said he was in love with her and that she hadn't told her husband yet. He said it was all complicated, a word that felt insulting considering how simple the truth really was. He told me the marriage was over. I told him to leave, and he spent the night at his office. The next morning, he called to tell me that he planned to stay in our home until the divorce was finalized. He said he wanted to be near the kids. He insisted he had a right to be there, and yes, he did legally. But being around him made me physically ill. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. My mind replayed every moment he had been late, every time he had claimed to be working through lunch, every night he said he was exhausted. He even asked me if his mistress could eventually be around my kids. The audacity of that question still leaves me breathless. I told him he wasn't to speak to her while under my roof or in front of our kids. He agreed, but his word means nothing now. I feel trapped. I feel sick. I've lost 10 pounds this week because I can't keep food down. I hardly sleep. I walk through the house feeling like I'm floating like a ghost. My kids sense something is wrong, and I'm trying so hard to hold it together for them. And I'm terrified of losing our home. He wants to sell it. My parents said they might be able to buy him out, but I need to figure out how that would work without losing the low interest rate we locked in years ago. My credit is meh, and the current rates are terrible. I feel like my entire life is breaking apart, one piece at a time. I just don't know how to do this. Someone please tell me it gets better, because I'm barely hanging on. Here's what you need to do ASAP. First, get a good shark lawyer and bring every bit of proof of his cheating. Even if you live in a no-fault state, that can be used as a bargaining chip to get you a better settlement. Second, get tested. You don't know what he exposed you to. Third, stay in therapy. You're going through trauma. Fourth, gray rock your wayward husband. Ignore him unless it's about your kids or your pending divorce. Fifth, concentrate on your kids since they'll go through the trauma of this betrayal with you. Be their rock and support. Sixth, tell your circle the truth so no one gets the story twisted. It's time to focus on your physical and mental health. Your kids need you more than ever, so make sure to eat well and take good care of yourself. Don't believe anything your wayward husband says, and don't take him back no matter what he promises. And make sure to let the other betrayed spouse know about his wife's cheating. You're in the worst part right now, but you're not staying here. It does get better, even if you can't see that yet. I wish you a speedy healing and all the best. Tell the other husband. He deserves to know exactly what's been going on. Then lawyer up. Even if you don't know what you want yet, have the paperwork ready. It gives you power in a situation where you feel like you've lost all of it. Document everything, especially the times your husband ditched his responsibilities for the affair. That matters for custody and finances. Lean on the people who love you. You shouldn't have to carry this alone. Update 1 month later. I wrote her a letter. Dear Mistress, it's been a few weeks since I learned about your affair with my husband. I read the messages you sent him during some of the darkest days of my life. I saw the comments you made when you knew nothing about what was happening behind the scenes. You told him I needed to get a clue. You said you were glad he put it back on me. So I want to tell you exactly what that conversation was about. In a single afternoon, my husband blindsided me by saying he wanted a divorce. 16 years together, and he mentioned it for the very first time, and on my birthday. I suddenly faced losing my partner, my home, and the stability of my 3 babies. I had no warning, no chance to prepare, and no idea this was coming. For days, he refused to talk. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I was terrified about what this meant for my kids, especially my oldest, who was going through chemo at the time. I kept asking for clarity because I was trying to protect my family. I was desperate to understand whether our life together was actually over. While I was trying to hold my home together, you were laughing with him about how irritating my feelings were. You mocked the pain of a woman whose life was falling apart. You mocked a marriage that you helped break. You mocked the fear of a mother watching her kids lose the stability that they depend on. Now let me tell you what your affair did. My kids wait for their father to come home for dinner. Their plates get cold. They don't understand why he's always late. My parents had to do school pickups that he claimed he couldn't make because he was working through lunch. Now I know what he was actually doing. My 2-year-old cries when either of us leaves now. He doesn't understand the tension, but he feels it. My 6-year-old keeps asking why his father isn't there in the mornings. My oldest son, who needed stability more than anything, had to face emotional turmoil during his cancer treatment. You did that. And yes, I had to get tested because of both of you. I never thought I'd be doing that as a married woman. This letter isn't about shifting blame away from my husband. He broke his vows. He betrayed me and our children. He made choices that destroyed our family. But you made choices too. You weren't a passive bystander. You weren't confused. You weren't misled. You knew exactly what you were doing. You laughed about it. You encouraged it. You tore down another woman to feel important. You could have used your strength as a woman to help lift someone else up. Instead, you used it to tear apart a family with 3 young children, one of them sick. I could never do to another woman what you've done to me. And if you don't tell your husband about your affair, I will. Update 15 months later. First of all, I just want to thank each and every one of you that commented and messaged me with support last year. It took me a while to respond, but I'm in a completely different place today than I was when I first wrote all of this. First and foremost, my son is officially cancer-free. He rang the bell at the end of 2024. He's healthy and he's thriving. He's getting to live a normal childhood again. Nothing matters more than that, and I am truly so grateful. Now about the rest. I listened to the advice here and found the best attorney in town. I also booked consultations with several other top lawyers so they couldn't represent my husband later, as I was told it would then be a conflict of interest for them to work with him at that point. Thanks so much for that advice. I filed for divorce in August of 2024, and it was finalized in November of 2024. My attorney coached me through everything. Every message to my husband was strategically worded. He never knew I had legal help in the background. By the grace of God, my ex didn't want to disrupt our kids by selling the house, so he voluntarily offered to walk away from it entirely if I paid off his debts, around $30,000 plus a car payment. He forfeited hundreds of thousands in equity. My parents helped me cover his debts, and I kept the house with the original low interest rate. My attorney drew up the agreement, and my ex signed an interspousal transfer deed. The house is now legally mine. He and the affair partner are still together. He told the kids he plans to move in with her soon. Because of that, I put the kids in weekly therapy. They're doing well. Surprisingly, my ex decided he didn't want 50-50 custody after all. I have the kids 70% of the time. He gets them every other weekend and 1 weekday overnight. That was his idea. And because of that schedule, he has to pay me a significant amount in child support each month. Again, his idea. I redecorated the entire house. It's peaceful and it finally feels like mine. I've taken care of myself physically, mentally, spiritually. I go to therapy. I go to church. I take care of my body. I get my hair, nails, and lashes done. I feel pretty again, and my confidence has never been higher. My ex still tries to talk to me in a patronizing tone sometimes, but I gray rock him completely. He truly doesn't know what to do with himself anymore. It's like I've pulled an Uno reverse and he can't process it. Between my mental growth and my physical changes, he always looks visibly confused. It's the best thing I ever learned, so thank you. On the bright side, the affair partner has gained quite a bit of weight. Normally, I'm the type of woman who roots for other women no matter what. But after everything she did to me, I'll admit, I don't feel bad hearing those updates. Friends, neighbors, even my elderly neighbor with a thick accent, all of them have commented. They say things like, "This is who he left you for?" And "I thought that was his mother." One neighbor brought me tomatoes and said she gave the mistress a dirty look and called her ugly. I didn't ask for any of this commentary, but I won't pretend it didn't feel like justice. I've started dating again, slowly and carefully. I'm learning to trust consistency, emotional maturity, and steady effort. It feels foreign, but good. Most importantly, I'm happy now. I'm at peace. I never thought I'd get here, but I did. You all deserve the same. Truly, I'm so grateful for every single one of you. If you're reading this while going through something similar, please know you're not weak. You're not stupid for being blindsided. You're not alone. The darkness passes. You climb out. And one day, you look around and see a life you built with your own strength, and it's better than what you lost. Hang in there and message me if any of you ever need anything. God bless you all. A man doesn't fall out of love while his kid is fighting cancer. He walks out of it, one selfish choice at a time. And anybody who can sneak around hotels while their own family is hurting isn't confused. They're committed to the wrong things. The real strength here isn't his, it's hers, holding the house and the kids together while he plays pretend with someone else's wife. And when the dust settles, he's the one who will be standing in the mess that he made, wondering why her life kept moving forward without him. Am I the jerk for not taking down pictures of my family and my own home to make my son's new wife feel more comfortable? I'm in my late 50s, and I've always been the picture person in our family. My walls tell our story. It started years ago when I took care of my aunt who had Alzheimer's. Photos grounded her and helped her remember where and who she was, and somewhere along the way it became something that grounded me too. I never stopped. Now that I have 3 adult kids and 4 grandkids, the photos have only multiplied. There are pictures from birthdays and school plays and random days we decided to grab ice cream. There are family portraits, goofy selfies, and snapshots where someone blinked or sneezed, and I keep them anyway because they show who we really are. My middle son, Gavin, who's 27, is no longer with my 4-year-old grandson, Tommy's mom, Helena. They broke up a while ago, but they co-parent well, and since I help with Tommy a lot, I still see her often enough. There's no drama with her. She's always been polite, respectful, and easy to be around. Last year, Gavin married a woman named Sherry, who's also 27. Their relationship moved at the speed of light. They dated a few months and tied the knot before anyone really had time to catch their breath. She seemed sweet and Gavin looked happy, so we welcomed her with open arms. There were no issues until this summer. That's when Gavin came to me and said Sherry wasn't comfortable with the photos I have around the house. The ones she wanted gone were any pictures where Helena happened to be standing somewhere in the frame. Now, I don't have any photos of Helena alone. They're all family shots from birthday parties, Christmas mornings, backyard barbecues. There are pictures from the days when Gavin and Helena were young parents, trying their best. They're memories of a time in our lives and of moments that matter to Tommy. I told Gavin no, this is my home and I like having them up. I've added plenty of pictures of Sherry too. I've made space for her. But it's silly to take some down just because Helena and Gavin are no longer together. It's still a part of our family history. I'm not tearing down pieces of the past to soothe insecurity about something that ended years ago. He dropped it for a bit, or so I thought. A couple of weeks ago, he asked again. And again, I said no. I told him I'd be happy to talk to Sherry myself. I'm not hostile. I don't dislike her. I just don't believe in pretending our family history never happened. He dropped it again, then came yesterday. He called me and said this was the last time he was going to ask. Either the pictures come down or Sherry won't set foot in our home again. He said it was important because seeing Helena in those old photos makes Sherry jealous and that it's starting to affect how she treats Tommy. That stopped me cold. I was appalled. This is a grown woman getting jealous of a child's mother and taking it out on the kid? It turns out Tommy pointed at one of the photos and talked about it, and Sherry apparently threw a fit over it. Over a photo of a kid's parents from before she was even in the picture. My twin daughters both think the entire situation is ridiculous. My husband agrees and said we don't negotiate with people like this, but he also pointed out that they're married now and we should pick our battles. I'm wondering if I'm missing the forest for the trees. I told Gavin the truth. If his wife is really treating our 4-year-old badly because of a few framed memories on my walls, then he needs to stop worrying about my decor and start thinking about what kind of a partner he married. He didn't like that. Now he's hounding me about it as Thanksgiving gets closer. I'm starting to wonder if I'm missing something big or if I'm really just dealing with someone who refuses to grow up. For now, the pictures are staying where they are. They're part of our family history, and I'm not rewriting that for anyone's ego. Edit. Thanks for all the messages. I've decided I'm not removing a single photo. If Sherry wants to behave like this, that's on her. She's welcome to stay home alone on Thanksgiving if pictures of a child's mother bother her that much. If she wants to be part of this family, she can come, but she'll have to grow up first. I'll also be having a serious talk with my son. There's a line between supporting your spouse and enabling bad behavior, and he's crossing it. For context, my husband and I are comfortable financially and help our kids out often. If Gavin decides to cut us off over this, he can. I doubt that though, because he knows that we'll respond the same way. Sherry is upset that your house reflects the actual history of your family, which includes a woman she'd prefer didn't exist. And instead of correcting his wife, your son is trying to rearrange reality in hopes that she'll stop acting out. Even if you took the photos down, she'd just move the goalposts. Next, she wouldn't want Tommy to mention his mom. Then she wouldn't want Helena coming to the door. Then she'd complain about handoffs. It never stops with people like this. Tommy's 4. He deserves adults who protect him. Your son needs to figure out whether he's a partner or a parent first, because right now, he's failing the latter. If your son thinks taking down a couple of pictures is magically going to fix his wife's attitude, he's dreaming. Kids notice everything. It won't take long before Tommy goes home and casually tells Helena, "Dad made Grandma take down the pictures because Sherry got mad." And when that happens, the fallout won't be pretty. Your house tells the story of your family. Helena is the mother of your grandson. She's part of that history. You're not erasing her because your son's new wife can't handle reality. Stand your ground. Someone has to protect that kid since his dad clearly won't. Getting jealous of old family photos is wild. Sounds like a Disney villain origin story. And treating the 4-year-old differently because of it? That's the point that shows who she really is. If she's cracking over pictures on someone else's wall, just wait till the kid mentions his mom is in the car. I'm 19, male, and my girlfriend, who's also 19, broke my anime figures, and it really hurt me inside. I get that they are kind of weird and stuff, but whenever I was still living with my parents, I was going through a really hard time, and collecting that sort of stuff, it just helped me get through everything. Getting a new package in the mail and seeing it just always made me happy. It's only been a couple of years, so obviously I still have all of them, even now that I live on my own. My girlfriend and I got into an argument about moving in together and stuff at my place. Because of lockdown and stuff calming down, we talked about it, but we've only been dating since around January. And she's only lived with her parents, so I didn't know if it was the best idea in my opinion. I told her we should wait a bit longer and she got really upset with me. I just went outside and calmed down for a bit. She came out with me after a while and said that she's leaving to go back home. We said goodbye and I went back in the room and I found 2 of my figures broken. I mean, I get that they were dumb or whatever, but they were mine. They meant something to me. They were one of the things that made me happy during some hard times, and she went and broke them. The one on the left is missing its entire body. It's supposed to come apart, but the body part was missing. I've looked for it, but I can't find it anywhere. I guess she either took it with her or threw it away. The other 3 parts are the same one, but they are just broken. It's beyond repair at this point, and I just can't find the other pieces anyway. It's only about $30-ish on this, but it just hurt because they meant something to me, and now they're broken and gone. I feel heartbroken and horrible now. I haven't texted her yet or had any talk with her so far. I don't know what I should do. I just want to ask for the body back on one of them, but I don't know what to say about it. Do I just tell her to give it back? The other one is broken, but I can put the other one back together. Can anybody help me? Update. Basically, me and my now ex-girlfriend got into an argument and she broke my stuff. The good news is that we broke up and I got the body back to one of my figures. I got the body back and I changed the face on it to match my ex-girlfriend's after we broke up. The other one is completely ruined though. After reading the comments on my old post, I knew I wasn't going to stay with her. I still wanted my stuff back though, so I just called her mom and told her what happened, and she said that she would talk to my ex-girlfriend. I explained on the phone with her mom that this was something I really wouldn't accept and that I would probably be breaking up with her, and at this point, I just want my stuff back. She told me later on to drive to their home and wait outside. I did just that, and my ex-girlfriend just walked out with a few tears in her eyes. Her mom told her that I was going to break up with her for this, and just handed the body back to me and $20 for the other one that she broke. After saying bye, I left and just went home and texted her, explaining that we're over and not to contact me again. She said she was sorry, but I was way too heartbroken and upset to even consider taking her back. I thanked her mom, and that's the last time I spoke to either of them. She literally acted like a kid. She broke my stuff like a kid. I had to go tell her mommy like a kid. Her mommy had to make her fix it like a kid. Yeah, this whole thing was just being childish. Thanks to everyone who left comments, except a few of you. What's wrong with some of you? I really appreciated most of the comments. Big thanks to the person offering to buy me new stuff because they know how it felt to have an ex break their things. But what's wrong with some of you? Like, I know collecting figures and stuff isn't considered normal, but no, I will not throw away my figures. I don't care what you think of my hobby, so you can honestly buzz off. If my future girlfriend doesn't like it, that's her problem, not mine. What she broke is irrelevant. That they were anime figurines is irrelevant. What matters is that she broke OP's belongings. Whether those were toy trains, collectible cards, post stamps, movie posters, anything, she'd have broken them regardless. Never stay with someone who breaks his stuff when they get mad at you. You'll regret it 100% of the time. Am I the jerk for telling my son-in-law's wife she will never take my daughter's place? I lost my daughter Abby 7 years ago. She was married to Scott and had 3 kids with him who are now 11, 12, and 14. Scott and my grandkids stayed part of the family, and last year Scott remarried. His current wife is Beth. We all knew Beth for a few years prior to the wedding, and she was always very friendly. Though at times she could be a little pushy. Scott would always handle that though. After they got married, Beth's pushiness got worse, and Scott appears to have lost control. Beth was upset when she dropped my grandkids off one day that we had not added photos of her to our house and commented as such. In our living room, we have a display with photos of our kids and their weddings. She felt her and Scott's wedding photo should be there. She was upset when my grandkids spent Mother's Day with us and our extended family, and we did not include her. Scott wasn't involved either. Mother's Day is a difficult day for him due to a bad relationship with his own mother. But Beth said we should invite her too because she's part of the family, and then she said that she's one of our kids too. I asked her what she meant, and she told me that she is obviously going to be one of our kids now that she's the mother figure to our grandkids. I told Scott what she said, and he was embarrassed and told me he would speak to her. Beth was also upset when my husband posted on Facebook to say something about our kids, and she didn't get mentioned as one of our kids, but as Scott's wife. We mentioned Scott and how wonderful he was to Abby and how wonderful he is as a father. For my grandson's 14th birthday, we were all together and he wanted a mom's side photo. Beth attempted to get into the photo, and when Scott tried to remind her, she said she's part of the family now. He pulled her aside and the photo was taken without her. But she told one of my sons after that she felt like we weren't treating her as a daughter, and then said Scott never treated her as a lesser wife. We saw them a little over Christmas, and Beth was upset that we got them a joint gift for her and Scott instead of getting her one alone. She told me she's tired of feeling like she's not really family, and she said she feels like we always put Abby first when she's here now. I saw red after this, and I told her she could never take my daughter's place, and the fact she ever thought she could is outrageous. She told me the kids call her mom, and they think the world of her, so why wouldn't we? I told her the kids have always called her Beth when I hear them, and she turned around and said that's our fault because the kids should be calling her mom and they don't. She lost it from there. Beth stormed out, and I explained what happened to Scott. He apologized and left the kids with us so he could speak to her. I think they worked it out, but Beth said I was needlessly cruel to imply she's not as good as Abby and doesn't deserve to be our daughter. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. You are Abby's parents and not Scott's. You have a good relationship with him and your grandkids, and that's wonderful, but she is not your family. She's Scott's, and a stepmother to your grandkids. She seems to be pushing boundaries and misunderstands that your relationship with Scott is based on the relationship he had with your daughter. You have included Beth in what you are comfortable with, but you are not obligated to treat her like your daughter, and her comments about being the kid's mother and that your daughter is put first, despite having passed, is alarming. Not the jerk. I mean, she sounds unhinged. There's no logic that would suggest she would ever be like a daughter to you, even if your grandkids do consider her a mother figure, now or in the future. That's not a transitive relationship. She's married to your daughter's widower. That's it. There's no family relationship between you and her. If she's pushing the gonzo replace Abby in every aspect of her life agenda consistently, that's honestly kind of crazy and it sounds weird. I would keep my distance as much as possible while maintaining the relationship with the grandkids and meet all her weird suggestions with, "What a strange thing to say." You're the jerk. Let me maybe give you a different perspective. Beth is not trying to take your daughter's place. She's simply walking through the next phase of Scott's life with him. Once you stop seeing her as trying to replace your daughter, you'll be a much less unhappy person. It's not necessary for you to maintain a relationship with Scott. I understand you want to see your grandkids, and that's fair and right. But you're shunning a woman who stepped into a family she didn't create at the invitation of your former son-in-law, your grandkid's father. You're disrespecting Scott by leaving Beth out. She might seem pushy to you, but have you thought about how you come across to her? This goes both ways. Sorry, but either you're the jerk or everyone sucks here. You keep including Scott, but not his new wife as a member of the family. She never asked to take your daughter's place. She asked to be included as a member and valued for herself, not just an extension of Scott. If you aren't up to including her in your lives, fine, but give her credit for wanting to make sure to have space for you. That is the opposite of erasing your family. The adults need to have a whole conversation about how to move forward with everyone comfortably. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Beth? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for insulting my father's girlfriend and telling her to get out of our lives? My mother was my world. I remember reading books, watching documentaries, and going on road trips with her. She baked my sister and I cookies whenever we were sick. Her and Dad would take us hiking every other week. I still miss her even now. When I was 11 years old, she passed away in an accident. It was the hardest year of my life, and it hasn't gotten easier. 2 years after she passed, my father started dating a woman named Nicole, and 4 years later, they got married. Nicole is younger than my father. After dating Nicole, I saw my father come back into his shell, but it turned into something else. Nicole brought adventure back into his life, but they often went on elaborate trips and frequent nights out. During all of this, I felt neglected. My father slowly stopped taking my sister and I on our weekly hikes. He started speaking less and less over calls, and he even once forgot my mother's birthday. After she came into our lives, I started losing my father. He just wasn't there anymore. One time when my sister and I were home alone, she fell down the stairs and got hurt. It was clear that she needed stitches, so I called my father immediately. Nicole answered the phone, and I told her to give the phone to my father. She refused, saying he was busy, and before I could get another word in, she disconnected the call. I embarrassingly had to ask the neighbor to bring us to urgent care, where my dad later met us. This woman at one point removed my mother's picture from the fire mantle to put up a picture of her and my dad from their trip to Washington. The thing that tipped me over was when she made my father forget about my mother's birthday. Every year, my sister and I go with our father to visit my mother on her birthday. It was an annual tradition even before Nicole entered our lives. Nicole and my father went on a trip to Florida and were supposed to be back 3 days before my mother's birthday. But because this woman is motion sick, my father decided to break the drive back into small intervals to make it easier on her. Because of this, he ended up missing our annual trip. He didn't even call us. Not even a week later, my father has the nerve to tell us about an exciting surprise. Nicole is pregnant. I get angry and tell my father, "You need to knock her up when you can't even be here for us?" I then look at Nicole and tell her that she's disgusting and she's a jerk and needs to get out of our lives. My father gets angry and yells at me to go to my room. Later, my grandpa unexpectedly came over to pick me up. My father didn't text me anything. Even as I left, he wouldn't even look at me. It's been 2 days, and I'm still at my grandparents' home. I feel ashamed for saying what I said, yet I don't feel overwhelming regret. Am I the jerk? You didn't say your age, but I hope you can move out soon. OP, I appreciate it. I'm 17, and I've spoken to school counselors too. No one is willing to help me. I've tried talking with my dad about how I feel way before my outburst, but it always ends with, "It happened years ago. It's time to move on." I don't even know what that means. My sister can't get help either, so I'm trying to peacefully exist for her. I'm 17, my sister is 13, my dad's 44, and Nicole is 34. Has Nicole ever tried to connect? Nicole has never made any effort to talk to us apart from when we go out for family dinners or when we're at parties. Even then, the conversations are always about her. My dad invited her out on our hikes early in the relationship, but she didn't like being outside. And over time, my dad stopped taking us hiking even when we asked him. Nicole does pottery from time to time, and I've invited her to my Art Honor Society events, but she always declined. We've made every effort to get to know her, but she only seems interested in talking with my dad. She doesn't understand that we're a part of his life too. Update. Regarding Thanksgiving dinner, when my dad and Nicole arrived, I asked if I could speak with them both. My dad said he didn't want to talk and went into the living room. Nicole still remained by the front door, so I apologized for insulting her. She replied that she needed to leave and went to the living room. Overall, she still seemed rightfully angry with me. Dinner was awkward because my grandma would try to get my dad and I to talk, but he wouldn't really bother. After dinner, I pulled him aside and apologized again. He ignored me and went straight to Nicole. I still wasn't sure if I was heading back with him or not, so I packed everything just in case. When he was getting ready to leave, I asked him if I could come back home. He said Nicole wasn't comfortable having me home, even though it had been a few days since the incident. I spent the entire night crying on the phone with my sister. After having a call with my maternal grandpa, he called my paternal grandparents a couple days later to discuss my situation. I overheard the call between them. My maternal grandpa expressed he was concerned about me, especially my mental state, and asked my paternal grandparents if they were willing to talk to my dad about putting me in therapy. My grandparents said they'd be willing to take me to their church's mental support group or talk with their faith leader who specializes in grief counseling. My grandpa pushed back on the idea and mentioned a need for more professional help, but they were not receptive to the idea. All three of them also had a heated conversation about my living arrangement. My grandpa said it was ridiculous for a grown man to throw out their daughter, but it was shameful that my paternal grandparents are not hard-pressed in helping me get back home. That's all I heard regarding the conversation. I, 28 male, sent my girlfriend who's 27 flowers anonymously. I sent my girlfriend a box of flowers anonymously the day after Christmas. Don't really know what prompted me to do this, but I definitely didn't get the reaction I was expecting. For context, I'm 28 male and she's 27 female. We've been dating on and off for about 5 years, but we got serious in 2022, became stable, exclusive, and started talking about moving in together in the near future. 2023 was a pretty rough year for both of us, individually and financially, but our relationship has been fine, or so I thought, up until now. Like I said in the beginning, I sent her a box of flowers, an expensive box. I did not put a note, nor did I tell her that I was sending her flowers. The day they were delivered, they called and said they would be delivering them to her place in an hour. I took it upon myself to pick up her favorite breakfast and go surprise her with that after the flowers were delivered. First red flag. When I was close to her apartment and started calling her to tell her that I was surprising her with breakfast and would be outside in a few minutes, she did not pick up the phone. She texted me and told me she was on the phone handling something and would call me back. After about 10 to 15 minutes of waiting, still no call back, I texted her and said that I had picked up breakfast for her and that I was outside and if she could just come down and get me. She read my message and didn't respond for another few minutes before calling me back and saying she was coming down. She did not say anything about the flowers, even though I know they had been delivered, and the delivery driver sent a picture of them in front of her door, so I know it was at the right unit. She comes down and greets me with a hug and a kiss, the usual, and we go upstairs. The flowers were nowhere to be seen, and she was mad jumpy. She kind of guided me to the couch, and she was really weird about me getting up and moving around her apartment. She kept asking me if I wanted anything, water or whatever, and said that she would bring it to me. She doesn't usually do this, but that in itself is not so weird. What was weird to me was the fact that she was glued to her phone texting the whole time and she seemed a little upset. I didn't say anything about the flowers. I told her I had just come by to drop off breakfast and that I had to go handle some things and I would call her later. I got up and left and she let me leave without a second thought. A few days passed by as normal and I still didn't mention the flowers. Last night, on New Year's Eve, we were at a party together and I got a little drunk, and in the middle of a conversation about something completely off topic, She stops mid-sentence and says, "By the way, did you send me flowers the other day?" I said yes. She said they didn't have a note or anything and asked why I didn't tell her. I told her it was on a whim and I had kind of forgot about it, and instantly our conversation was interrupted by the 30 seconds to midnight countdown. The rest of the night was normal. Today I went to her apartment again, and now the flowers are on her living room table in plain sight. I mentioned that I hadn't seen them the last time I was there, and she claimed they hadn't been delivered yet. I know for a fact that's a lie. Is she cheating on me? Honestly, I'd be creeped out about the random flowers with no note attached, but knowing that I'm faithful to my man, I would have asked you about them instead of hiding it. Same. The only two reasons I can think of her not saying anything is either she has a side piece or she told someone no and they thought it was from them and creeped her out. Anonymous surprise flowers are scary, honestly, especially if you've encountered someone creepy that recent. Once I received flowers anonymously and I was freaking out for days because I thought it was an old stalker I had had. I hate when people do that. For all you know, she could have an ex that's been pestering her lately and she might have thought that he sent them. It's possible she texted him and was waiting for a response when you showed up, and that's why she hid the flowers. Is there any reason why she would think it would upset you if one of her exes was trying to get in touch with her again? The only way you'll ever know why she didn't say anything is if you sit her down and ask her. You've known her long enough to know if she's lying to your face. Sounds like a stupid game. Did you already have reason to believe she was cheating? She probably was uncomfortable receiving the flowers without a note and didn't want to cause problems by bringing it up to you, as it seems you already suspect her of cheating. She probably did ask and talk to people to see if they knew where the flowers were from. Doesn't necessarily mean she was talking to an affair partner. She could have been texting a friend. It's risky to think you can go from an open relationship to a monogamous relationship with the same person. It's a different way to love, different level of trust. Such a long open relationship means the other person is not prioritized. There is no habit to do so. Otherwise, it would be too painful. So once she established they weren't from her side piece, or at the very least someone she's been flirting with, she then asked you, "Oh, by the way," and put them on display. 100% sketchy behavior. Call her out and tell us what excuses she comes up with. Bro, she lying about something. Even if they weren't from you, any trusting girlfriend would have nothing to hide and would be like, "Someone sent me random flowers today." If it felt weird to you, trust your gut, buddy. Yeah, this. I'm seeing women bend over backwards to make her behavior normal or one of those safety-conscious women. But why didn't she include OP in this safety? I would immediately ask my boyfriend, even the dude who mistreated me. If you can't ask basic questions, why are you with somebody? Well, I'm seeing men bend over backwards to ignore the red flags of her boyfriend sending her anonymous flowers on a whim. That crap is neither innocent nor normal. Am I the jerk for banning my sister's son from events that I host? I treat my family to dinners out and other events fairly often. My sister Charlotte recently moved closer to me and our parents. Before then, I only saw her and my nephew Leo for holidays. I invited Charlotte on a family dinner out and it was an absolute disaster because of Leo. Charlotte called me while she was driving to the restaurant. I could hear Leo yelling in the background. Charlotte asked Leo to wait a few minutes until she was done calling me, and then she would give Leo her phone. She wasn't doing anything to actually discipline Leo. My nephew's behavior was no better inside the restaurant. Leo is 8, and yet he was acting like some sort of 2-year-old. He was jumping up and down the booths, yelling to get Charlotte's attention. He threw bread at another patron service dog. My dad took away the bread after Leo ignored the first warning, and Leo threw a tantrum. People were staring at us, and I would have been too. Leo's behavior was completely unacceptable. While all of this was happening, Charlotte just said things like, "Oh, Leo, you can play on my phone," and wasn't doing anything to actually discipline my nephew. While we were outside leaving, and Leo was with his grandparents out of earshot, I told Charlotte that this could never happen again. I told Charlotte that she needs to get Leo under control, and until she does, he's not welcome at any events in public that I host for the family. Charlotte said that I was a horrible person for excluding her kid, and to think about how I would have felt as an 8-year-old to know I wasn't welcome at family gatherings. If Charlotte doesn't want to hurt Leo's feelings, then she cannot mention the family events I host or actually do something to discipline him. Our parents understandably asked to not get involved in our disagreement. Friends are divided because some are saying Leo shouldn't even be in restaurants until Charlotte gets him under control, and others claim what I described Leo doing was normal kid behavior. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Your sister is being a jerk to her son, though. He needs appropriate guidance on how to behave. He may be struggling because he missed out on socialization milestones because of lockdown. As a mental health professional, I and colleagues are seeing that the full effects of that on young people is only just beginning to manifest, let alone be fully understood. Not the jerk. If he can't behave properly in a restaurant, he doesn't belong in a restaurant. His behavior is not normal for an 8-year-old, and Charlotte is not doing him any favors by refusing to teach him how to conduct himself in public. My ex-wife demands I financially support her new family after she used me for years. I have 2 sons, ages 16 and 14, with my ex-wife. Our marriage reached a bitter end when I learned she had remained married to me for over 3 years so I would support her through returning to school so she could switch careers to an even better paying one, despite her old one paying as much as mine. For years, I tried so hard to save our marriage because I felt it fracture. She played along until she got what she wanted, and then she was honest that she had never wanted to save our marriage and had been over me for years. When we divorced, custody was set to 50-50 of our boys, so she was ordered to pay child support to me because she was making so much more after her change of career in education. She remarried a year after our divorce and had more kids. After the birth of her last kid 4 years ago, things got bad. Her husband was diagnosed with cancer. Then one of her kids got diagnosed with a long-term medical condition. Then lockdown impacted her job. Our boys would tell me how rough things were at their mom's and how they wanted to live more with me. So I went to the court and the judge moved her down to every other weekend and changed the child support order to reflect her decrease in custody. Recently, she had to move into a smaller house because of how badly they were struggling, and then she came to me for help after the courts refused to end the child support payments. She told me I needed to help her and that I should be helping to take care of my boy's family, and that's what she and her family are. I told her she used me for 3 years so that she could survive off of my money. She did not get to ask me for more, to support a family that's not my own. She called me a selfish jerk, told me her family is living off charity and they could be so much better off if I would help them. I asked her why I was supposed to care. She told me she wished she had cheated while we were together and that using me for money wasn't enough. Again, she told me about her family and how they would starve. I told her I didn't care if they did or not, that none of them are my problem and I only care about my kids. She called me a jerk. Her husband sent me a text that night saying I was a cruel jerk and he hoped the boys would hate me when they realize I want their whole family to suffer. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk, but make sure you have a high-level conversation with your boys so that they'll be prepared for your ex and her husband when they try to paint you as the root of all evil when they go over there. Not the jerk. Is she actually destitute? It doesn't sound like she is. She moved into a smaller house. That's still a house. It's not a shelter, not even an apartment. Are they on food stamps? I'm getting the sense she's having a hard time adjusting to a life on a more modest income, but not that she's totally broke. You also know she has a history of manipulating money out of you. I'd leave this up to the courts. If she was really broke, wouldn't the court lower her child support payments? Not the jerk. While the degree of anger you exhibit is concerning, I don't see you as the jerk. First, your ex and her new husband are threatening to destroy your relationship with your kids. That's enough to go back to the court and try to get full custody if you want to go down that route. As for the finances, she can go to court and ask the judge to reduce her child support payments. Wait, she tried that. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his ex? Please let us know. Not your monkeys, not your circus. Next. Am I the jerk for refusing to tell my husband the gender of our baby after he skipped going to the doctor's appointment with me? My husband and I are expecting. This is our first baby and we're excited. Thing is, he barely attends any doctor's appointments with me, and his excuses aren't even valid. He's willing to miss the doctor's appointments over soccer or a drink or board games with his friends. His response is always, "I'm not the one carrying the baby. Why do I have to go see the doctor with you?" Last week was my final straw. He was supposed to come with me for the baby's gender reveal appointment, but he chose to not come last minute because his friend invited him to fish and chips meal. I was pretty livid, but I didn't make a fuss about it. My mom went with me instead. He texted asking me to tell him the results, boy or girl, but I refused to tell him. He kept spam calling me, but I hung up each time. He came home fuming, demanding I tell him the results, but I refused and bluntly told him since he refused to attend the appointments, then he gets no results till after the baby is born, and said I was willing to die on this hill. He went off calling me spiteful and immature for doing this and punishing him. He said he's the father and has the right to know. He then called me dramatic since I wasn't alone and my mom was with me. I said he gets no results, period. He's been fuming about it and told his family, and they're now pressuring me to stop playing mind games with him and tell him, but I declined. Am I the jerk? Update. I just wanted to mention that my husband just attempted to contact my doctor to get the results. It didn't go well and we had another argument over it. He couldn't get it since his mom was the one who made the call. Not the jerk. Already a deadbeat dad before the baby is even born. I would drop a friend if I found out they prioritized fish and chips over their wife and baby's doctor's appointment. If he's telling you, I'm not carrying the baby, why do I have to go to the doctor with you? That's going to turn into, I didn't push out that baby, why should I look after it? Real quick. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. My ex pulled this with our second baby, and I caved and told him, I shouldn't have. You need to seriously reconsider this relationship. He's showing you that he and his friends are more important than you and your baby. He sees going to appointments with you as punishment, not as a chance to make sure you and the baby are healthy. Don't be like me and stay until he leaves you for another woman. Everyone sucks here. This whole dynamic is so toxic. If he's not being a supportive partner, I recommend considering walking away and looking for alternative sources of support, like your family. Playing these kinds of games, especially where the child is the pawn, is bad for everyone and will undoubtedly affect your kid if this continues into his or her adolescence. If your relationship doesn't last, do you want him to co-parent with you? If so, it's instrumental to separate your relationship with him from his relationship to your kid. As a co-parent, he should have access to the same medical information about his kid as you. Short me $70,000 in violation of our written agreement? It'll cost you $1.8 million. Disclaimer. The names and some of the situations have been changed to protect the identities, but the dollars and general nature of this situation is completely true. Background. A year out of school in the early 90s, I procured a job as a business analyst for a large family-owned tech company. This business was located in the booming heart of technology at the time and was very profitable. As tech took over the next decade, the company thrived and remained family-owned, which was a rich family, and company became exceedingly wealthy with a valuation and net worth in the high 9, low 10 figures. The family that owned it was quite neurotic, very moody, and had a reputation as very ruthless, greedy when it came to financing, deal-making, employees, etc. I truly believe this is what held them back from ultimately becoming a household name as a company. As I progressed in the company, I gained more and more face time with the owners. I worked on some projects directly with ownership that really paid off and gained me even greater access to their inner circle. Now, like a lot of people at the time, and particularly those who worked in tech, I was heavily invested in tech stocks. I discussed some of my investments and gains with ownership as casual conversation, though investing had nothing to do with my role in the company. That is, until one day in late 1999, when the owner came to me and asked me if I would invest some of his personal money. He wanted me to take big risks to see if they would pay off using $1 million of his personal money. I was a bit hesitant, but still, being in my late 20s and wanting to prove myself, I said I would. I asked for a written agreement where they acknowledged this wasn't my role in the company, was a personal matter between the owners and me, and to document my compensation for this side arrangement, 20% of all profits. Around this same time, and by working in the industry, I started to notice the weakness associated with a lot of tech companies. They just weren't living up to their hype and stock price, and some seemed like they were starting to run out of money. I had no inside information, just a strong sense of which companies were struggling based on my work in the business. Based on this, I started using both my money and my owner's money to short tech companies just after the new year in 2000. For anyone unfamiliar with shorting, it means if the value of a stock decreases, the value of the investment increases. I had a few long positions, but my overall position was very short. Since the owner wanted a big risk and big reward, I used his money and obtained leverage or margin from the financial institution where I maintained both his and my trading accounts. The accounts were separate, but both under my name. Again, I documented this and gained consent. Well, both my account and his suffered some moderate losses in the first 2 months of 2000 before the bubble began to burst. Then both accounts, but his in particular, began to skyrocket. Ownership's pettiness. In June, the company began to suffer a downturn. We were still profitable, but since we provided tech services and products, we were not immune to weakness in the broader market. I had not informed the owner of my short strategy. He came to me one day and asked how his money was doing, saying he suspected it was way down like the general market. To his surprise, I informed him that while we still had some money tied up in options, puts, and shorts, but based on the positions I had closed, there was $1.35 million in cash sitting in the account that belonged to him. Again, I still had a bunch of open positions, which, if memory serves, were worth about $1 million on that date. But the positions I had closed had yielded $1.35 million in cash just sitting in his account, which was in my name. The owner, either through ignorance or lack of attention, said, "Great, $1.35 million. Fantastic work in this down market. Will you please wire it to me?" I responded that I would, but would be taking my 20% of the $350,000 profit, or $70,000, before wiring him the $280,000. I reminded him that I still had open positions that had yet to pay off or close, but I didn't state the amount. He, once again, appeared not to understand or comprehend the open position statement, but instead totally focused on and became incensed about my rightful claim for $70,000. He went on and on about how times were tough, I should be grateful for a job, particularly at my young age, and the entire $350,000 was necessary for him in the company. I knew this wasn't true based on my position within the company. Worse, this was my first time personally experiencing the greedy and corrupt nature that served as the basis for ownership's reputation. Now comes the revenge. Since, after 2 separate conversations, the owner didn't seem to grasp that the open positions would yield at least some income and thus additional profit, I decided not to mention it again. I sent him back the entire $1.35 million and continued to manage the open positions to the best of my ability. And here's the kicker. The owner never brought it up again. He seemed to think the $1.35 million payment was the entire value of the account and never understood or remembered that open positions still existed. He never asked for records, tax documents, or any time of audit or financials. Given the fact that he was dishonest with me, I didn't feel the need to disabuse him of that notion. Ultimately, after a bit more net gain, I covered all of the shorts and exercised all of the options, puts in this case, for an additional $1.8 million. I worked for the company for 3 more years, and owner never asked about it during my tenure, after I gave notice or since. I know it's a bit crass and even shady, but given his dishonesty with me over the $70,000, I felt justified in keeping the additional $1.8 million. I paid taxes on the gain, long-term capital gain, and went on my way with a fantastic nest egg. Nobody has asked about it since, and I have only told the story to a few people, and even then, only after the statute of limitations passed. The final ironic cherry on top of this sundae is that during my remaining 3 years, I gained greater influence with ownership and position within the company because they considered me loyal for giving the $1.35 million back and not making too much of a stink about the $70,000 profit. Little did they know I got the better of them. The company eventually folded due to family disputes, but my understanding is that ownership walked away in a very good financial position. They likely could have been much better and greater company had they not practiced the same dishonesty that they showed me with their vendors, clients, and employees. Update: there have been no negative consequences from this. In fact, the remaining family members have reached out a time or two about some consulting work. They have no clue. Karen stole my hair and skin oils and threw them out. Big mistake. I, 32 female, and my husband Alex, 34 male, have allowed my sister-in-law Julie, who's 34, to stay in our house due to her soon-to-be ex kicking her out and filing for divorce. Julie still has her job, but doesn't want to go through the ordeal of getting a new apartment while dealing with her soon-to-be ex, and we didn't want her to have to stay in a hotel during that. I'm Indian, and Alex and the rest of his family are white. I feel like that might be relevant to what happened here. I use oils for most of my hair and skincare. I also use chemically manufactured products, but I found that it's better for my hair and skin. That's also how my mother cared for me when I was younger. Julie disapproves of this and thinks that I'm just going around town an oily and greasy mess, despite me repeatedly explaining why I do this to her. She's tried to convince me to switch to all chemical products that she uses, but I politely decline each time. When I woke up today after sleeping in with Alex, I walked into our shared bathroom and I saw the case of my oils was not there. I looked further around the bathroom to see where it could be, and I asked my husband if he had moved them. He said no, and that's when I went into the living room and asked Julie about my case. Julie gave me a smirk and told me that she had woken up early this morning and took my case out of the bathroom to drive to the other side of the community we live in and dump it in the garbage bin there. I was tired and thought that she was joking until Julie bragged about it, saying that she did me a favor and that I wouldn't have to use such uncivilized ways of taking care of myself. Once her words sunk in, I was upset and I called Alex into the room to explain to him what she did. Alex seemed disappointed but not surprised about what Julie did and told her that what she did was disrespectful. Julie tried to defend herself, saying that she only did what she thought was best and it shouldn't be such a big deal. I cut her off, saying that I wanted her to give me $76, which was the cost of the oils, so I could replace them. Julie got nervous and said she was in a tight spot financially, so she couldn't pay me back right away. I said that was fine, but I expected her to pay me at some point. After a small back and forth, Julie eventually packed a bag and said she'd be staying at a hotel to give me time to cool down and realize how irrational I was being. A few hours later, my mother-in-law and father-in-law scolded me for making Julie uncomfortable in my home and that I shouldn't force her to pay for something so small. My husband asked his mom how she'd feel if Julie tossed out hundreds of dollars of skincare she owned because Julie thought it wasn't good for her. My mother-in-law just replied with, "That's different," before telling us that I should apologize and then hanging up. Edit. My mother-in-law and father-in-law are paying for Julie's hotel and apparently are going to do so until she comes back to our house. Not the jerk. She stole your items. It doesn't matter if she used them, gave them away, or trashed them. She stole your items and you don't have them anymore. This is after you graciously let her live in your house. That's different? BS. Something so small? Then the father-in-law and mother-in-law can give you the $76. Tight spot financially? Then maybe not incur costs by stealing other people's stuff. She thought that was best? How about not doing that in someone else's house? Does she throw out things she doesn't approve of in everybody's house or just yours? I'm curious why her ex threw her out, but I have my suspicions. Not the jerk, and Julie is an ungrateful brat. She has money to stay at a hotel, but not to pay you back for things that she stole from you? My boyfriend, who's 29, told me, 27 female, that there was a chance he'd leave me if I was infertile. I was really sick from ages 22 to 24 with my lungs, and I almost didn't make it. The doctors still to this day can't tell me what caused it, and I recovered, but I still have minor breathing issues from time to time. My boyfriend and I have been together for 1.5 years and recently have been talking more about having kids in the future. We unfortunately never spoke about things like infertility, which sadly runs in my family. I was quite taken aback when he said there was a chance he'd leave our relationship if I couldn't safely carry a child because of my lungs, currently being reinvestigated, or if I was infertile. When I asked him if he was the infertile one, he said he expected me to do the same, but it's something I'd personally never consider leaving him over. We revisited the conversation the next day, and he went from saying there was a chance to him stating he's 95% sure he wouldn't leave me. I, of course, would never stand in the way of him being a father, but I can't seem to shake off the fact that there's this condition attached to our relationship now. It's made me feel like my value is attached to my fertility, and I'm starting to view him in a different light. Am I just being overly sensitive? Edit. I just wanted to note that I'm not actually confirmed to be infertile. I'm just at a slight risk because I've had a few women in my family that had fertility issues, and there's also the concern that I wouldn't be able to safely carry a baby due to my lungs. We would obviously have to run tests to have anything confirmed. Update. We took a week break and came back to discuss what happened. He explained that he didn't mean what he said, and he was in shock because our relationship was falling apart, but I still feel doubtful when even after 24 hours, he only changed it to being 95% sure he wouldn't leave, and during our recent discussion, he admitted he didn't understand exactly how hurtful it would be for me to hear something like that. After reading everyone's comments, speaking to my friends, family, and therapist, we've ended our relationship. Unfortunately, I've realized that after my boyfriend told me there'd be a possibility he'd leave me if I were infertile, that I'm sadly no longer going to feel secure in this relationship, knowing that he's told me he's unable to support and stick by me should I face health issues in the future. And it's making me doubt if he can show up for me at all. which admittedly, he's failed to be there for me already this year during my multiple family passings and important health appointments. I'm devastated and the most heartbroken I've ever been, as I really thought we had a loving and caring relationship and that we would be able to build an amazing life together. But I've realized I'm choosing someone who's never going to choose me and that I deserve better. Honestly, leaving was the right choice because I believe that the first thing he said was the actual truth. He just started trying to walk it back because he saw that it was something that was going to ruin the relationship. I'm glad that she got advice and followed through. She mentioned possible infertility. He said he would dump her for infertility. She got nervous about the relationship and he backpedaled? I don't think he was using his thinking brain, but what's the plan? Assume everything goes great, no infertility, no need to ever have resided this concern. Then he was stupid to have opened his mouth in the first place. Wait to dump her until infertility arises? Save time all around and just break up. She made the right choice for that one. I'm infertile. There's a 0 chance I can conceive and carry a baby. If my significant other said that was a deal breaker, then it just is. Relationship has run its course. Even if later they didn't mean it or weren't sure, I would know that they would resent me for a lack of a baby because of something out of my control. I had to have a total hysterectomy because of cancer. There was no other way that wouldn't have been just rolling dice and praying things didn't go badly. All for a theoretical kid that may never exist. Breaking up is painful, but knowing your beloved is angry with something about you that you can't change is worse than any breakup. Honestly, to some people it is a deal breaker. It's not an evil thing. I also wouldn't want to be with a person who's child-free and vice versa, or with a person that hates pets. That's life. I don't ever want kids, but if fatherhood is important to the guy, isn't that his right? I mean, at least he communicated it directly when the issue came up. It's not his right to make her feel broken. It is his right. He's old enough that he should know how controversial his choice would be for potential partners, and he should have been more upfront before entering into a serious relationship with her. Except, it's not controversial at all. It's the norm that most people want kids, and if one of the partners couldn't or wouldn't have them, then the relationship is over. No, it isn't. This isn't the 1600s. Would I be the jerk for pulling out of my family's Secret Santa after seeing the wish list I got? Our family's Secret Santa, as of right now, has 20 participants. Not sure if this is a normal amount or if it's a lot. I've only been in Secret Santas with 5 to 7 people at work. We have re-rolled 5 times because we're either A, changed the rules after getting our receipt, or B, added people. We started with 10, decided to add spouses, then the kids, and now random family friends. Our current rules are ridiculous in my opinion. We were told to put affordable gifts that a kid can buy, but everyone is putting their expensive life wishes on the list. Then we have to get at least 5 gifts from the wish list with no budget, and you have to declare how many gifts you are giving in the group chat to make sure that you receive the same amount, which makes no sense. You also need to add where the gifts can be found. A few people have also started saying that they're going to buy from lists other than the recipients. I'm already totally confused. Like, why are they making this so complicated? On top of that, everyone keeps editing their lists, adding and removing things that they think of. I've explained how inconvenient this is becoming, and even tried the angle of the financial burden being placed on the parents of multiple kids. There's 6 kids in total in the group. Most of the group agrees, but are explaining that they are gritting their teeth for family's sake. Well, your family sounds like a headache. The list I got today after a month of back and forth, I've been asking since this seems to be a serious project at this point, is riddled with luxury name brands like Dior and Louis Vuitton that I know no one in the group can afford. Maybe 2 people can buy one of these items, and that's a strong maybe. Nothing on the list can be found for less than $200, and I checked. Did I mention that we are not allowed to deviate from the list unless explicitly stated that we can? Yeah. This doesn't feel like the essence of gift giving or even Secret Santa. There's so many rules, no element of surprise. At this point, we're just giving each other items to unwrap. I'm one of 3 who followed the rules, and no one edited their list when this was brought up. My entire list is $100 in total. Edit. Quite a few of you are interested in specific items requested from my recipient. Here's an example. The list I got includes luxury handbags, a PS5, Dyson Airwrap, a cashmere robe, a plane ticket to Bali, to name a few. The cheapest is a green Amazon Kindle, which is $203 with tax. Well, what do you think? Should OP stay in the Secret Santa or not? Please let us know. This is giving me flashbacks to Secret Santa when I was in 6th grade. The gift that I took to school was the coolest vortex football you'd ever seen. Had big wings on it and made a loud whistle when you threw it. You know what my Secret Santa got me? A microwave omelet maker. Am I the jerk for not allowing my boyfriend to have overnight house guests? I'm neurodivergent and bipolar. I'm prone to psychosis, and I was diagnosed many years ago, long before I met my husband. He's been aware the entire time that I've known him, and he knows there are some quirks about me because of my neurodivergence. I'm high functioning, for lack of a better term, and so my issues may be invisible to many people, but my partner, his family, and my friends and family all know my situation. Specifically, I don't have overnight house guests, and I don't allow guests past midnight unless it's pre-cleared with me. This is because the sounds and noises and interruptions of other people are a lot for me to handle, and I can only handle and mask so much before I'm just completely spent and I eventually lose my temper and filter and either become enraged or start sobbing or even find myself unable to sleep for days on end and going psychotic because I'm so overstimulated and I haven't slept. My husband's mother has never seen me this way, and I hope she never does. Losing my temper and filter is not something I want to do around friends or family. I also need 2 to 4 hours to calm my brain down after a lot of socialization before I can go to sleep, hence my midnight cutoff. I don't feel this drained or stressed around my partner, or he wouldn't be my husband. But everyone but him and my best friend of a decade, yes. My husband moved from his city, which his mother lives in, his father has passed long ago, to my city to be with me when we got married. Before he did that, I talked to him about how I can't have overnight house guests. In 2 years of dating, neither of us has had an overnight house guest except each other. He said he understood and it was no problem. But now his mother wants to come to visit for a week at Christmas, and she wants to stay with us in the guest room, my partner's office that has a bed in it also. He sleeps in there when I'm having trouble sleeping. This will require my partner to work in the kitchen right beside my office corner, not really a room, causing a ton of noise and disruption, and we'll have another person around all the time draining my energy. Currently, our offices are separated. My partner said he agreed with the overnight house guest thing when he assumed I meant our friends. He says he never understood it also meant his mother. I've offered to pay for half a hotel when his mother comes to stay, but he says that isn't the point, and she doesn't want to come if she can't stay with us. We live in the city, and the hotel is literally 1 block from us. This is not an exaggeration. I've stayed at it before for a week when I was waiting for our apartment to become ready, and it's very classy. Am I the jerk for insisting his mother stays at a hotel when she visits so I can stay sane? Edit. Yes, I have been hospitalized for 2 weeks before for being psychotic. So just grin and bear it means I probably go back to the hospital for not sleeping and going crazy. I don't think this is a fair outcome for me. Not the jerk. But is he your boyfriend or your husband? The title says boyfriend, but you call him your husband in the post. In any case, the solution is simple. If she insists on staying at your house, you go stay at the hotel. Look, it's not like you're being mean, and it's also not like he doesn't know about your mental health issues. I think he is intentionally obstructionist because he doesn't want conflict with his mom. Or he thinks you will cave in. Don't do it. You have a solution. But honestly, has he even explained your mental health issues to his mom? It sounds like she has no clue. OP. Husband of about 6 months. I keep calling him my partner or boyfriend still. I'm totally doing the hotel thing. I'm going to talk to him tonight. People have given many helpful suggestions. His mother knows I'm bipolar, but does not know about the psychosis. Almost nobody does. The amount of people that know about the psychosis is 3 total, including my husband, best friend, and psychiatrist. I'm very private about it because it was the lowest point of my life to be hospitalized for 2 weeks. Update. I talked to John and my mother-in-law, and I got a lot of messages asking for an update. I spoke to my husband John last night about the situation regarding his mom staying at the hotel, and I explained that I would pay for and go to a hotel myself, or pay for half of his mother's hotel when she came. John was absolutely aghast. First, he was freaked out about me not running the house for the week and having to take over my roles, as I had guessed. John has autism and is very attached to his routines. Here's my role in the house from one of my comments. I do his laundry, taxes, all of the vet runs, all of the groomer runs, all of the grocery runs. I plan all of our doctors, dentist, and optometrist appointments. I send out the Christmas cards. I'm the sole driver in the house, and I take him to all of his appointments. I also get all of the car maintenance and washing done myself. I go to the pharmacy and dry cleaner for him. I replace anything that's broken or damaged, his or mine. I plan all of our date nights, all of our anniversaries, our vacations and trips. I picked all the furnishings for our apartment because doing so stressed him out. I do the budgeting, finances, and pay all of the bills with both our money. It's maybe an hour a night for him to cook and clean, maybe 4 times a week. We get our own breakfasts and lunches, and we eat out 3 times a week. But I spend much more than an hour a day running the rest of the household. So John was already having to make a stretch to his routine to have his mother visit, but to have his mother visit and me gone? He really didn't like that. Plus, he told me he hated the idea of not sleeping in the same bed with me for a week, and that this is a non-starter. So he called his mother, which we were both nervous about because he had talked it up so much. They're from a culture where respecting your parents is very important, and John was extremely afraid of offending his mother. We called her and explained the situation, saying that it's really hard for me to fall asleep unless I'm around him or my best friend, and that's why I had the no house guests rule. We told her there was a place less than a block away that was a lovely 4-star hotel and we would be happy to pay for it. Well, then his mother started yelling and talking loudly. Not at me though. Best I can remember, here's what she said. "John, you had a fight with her about me staying there when you're happy to pay for me to stay in a 4-star hotel? John, I know you had a fight because you never both call me unless it's a holiday. You're telling me you didn't immediately give me the chance to stay in a 4-star hotel? John, when was the last time I stayed in a 4-star hotel? Let me tell you, the answer is never." So his mom is extremely excited about staying in the 4-star hotel and now keeps making jokes about how she might not even see us on the vacation because she'll be at the spa, fancy restaurant, etc. at the hotel. John is happy as pie about all of this because I'm happy and his mom is really happy. He doesn't care at all that she isn't staying with us, only that she wasn't offended by the hotel idea. Thanks to everyone that told me to respect my boundaries. All the best. Wait, a Reddit story with a happy ending where everyone gets along? Don't worry, Karen, it's probably just a glitch in the Matrix. Here's one to bring us back to reality. Am I the jerk for telling my cousin I didn't get a graduation present? I, 23 female, recently graduated from university with honors. I'm not from the US. I attended uni for free and had a scholarship which took care of my housing and food situation. The country I'm from has really good deals for student dorms, and I was able to stay at a dorm for the entirety of my studies. I don't own a car either as I work from home. This will be important later. I landed a stable job right after uni, and I'm attending what you in the US call grad school. My parents weren't really supportive during my studies. They expressed zero interest in attending my graduation or conferences when I presented work. Yesterday, I visited my uncle, male 43. He took his kids to Paris for a holiday, and they had a blast, so I went over to see photos, videos, hear how it was, etc. My cousin, who's 8, she asked if I'd ever been to Paris. I told her no, but it is on my list. She asked me why I never went to Paris, and I told her I never had the opportunity. Now, my uni friend, male 24, was in Paris at the same time as my uncle and cousins, and they met by chance in a restaurant. My uncle knows my friend. My uncle is an interior designer, and he designed my friend's mom's house after I introduced them, and my uncle mentioned that they saw him in Paris. I remembered he was gifted a trip to Paris and London as a graduation gift from his parents, and my uncle mentioned that my friend told him so. I remembered my friend telling me about that holiday, and I verified to my uncle that was probably his graduation present, and then my cousin asked what I got as a graduation present. As you all probably have guessed by now, I got nothing. I'm absolutely not entitled to anything, but for context, my younger sister, who's 19, got into uni this year, and my parents gave her roughly $900 worth of gifts, including shoes and jewelry. I told my cousin I got myself a pair of shoes I really wanted for graduation, and from my first real paycheck, and my boyfriend gave me a notebook. My cousin looked really sad and told me that's really not enough for something as big as a graduation. My uncle looked really upset too, and I just switched over to another topic. This morning, I got an angry call from my mother. She called me an ungrateful brat for demanding a gift for doing what was required of me to do, and asked if I won a participation trophy. She also mentioned my uncle suggested they buy me a car, something I never wished for or expressed wanting, and said if I want a car, I should work for it, a sentiment I agree with. I just hung up because I didn't have it in me to deal with her. So Reddit, am I the jerk? Not the jerk. It seems your mother is wanting to yell at you for demands that your uncle is making. Her issue should be, and should remain, with him. If she's embarrassed by your uncle for not giving you a gift, You still don't owe her an apology, as this is also something between her and your uncle. Not the jerk. You gave an honest answer to the kid's question. If your parents are embarrassed by the truth, that's their problem. Karen calls me undateable, so I made her cry. This is a weird title, but here's what actually happened. My ex and I broke up 5 years ago after a year-long relationship. He broke up with me, and I took it very hard back then. I can't say I did anything crazy, aside from a few weeks after the breakup, getting really drunk on a night out and sending him some embarrassing texts. It was the worst heartbreak I've ever had, and it didn't help that he kept messaging me to be friends, even though I tried to set boundaries and say that I need space to heal. Anyways, that's all in the past. I can confidently say that I have indeed healed from that, and I'm over him. He recently got married to a girl he started dating like 2 months after we broke up. Honestly, I'm happy for him. Good for them. Me, on the other hand, I've dated since then, but haven't been able to find anyone worth marrying. I haven't even had another serious relationship since then. He's still in the periphery of my social circle because we still have a lot of mutual friends from uni, and sometimes I see both of them in social settings. While he and I have buried the hatchet and usually just chat when we happen to be in the same room for a bit, although we never text or meet up outside of these contexts, his wife and I have always treated each other with polite disinterest. I know she really doesn't like me. An important note about her is that she's been unemployed for a long time. I don't know if it's because she wants to be a stay-at-home wife, completely valid if that's her thing, or because she's been unable to find work, but she hasn't worked in many years despite having a master's degree. I've been really able to advance my career in the past 5 years, and I'm quite far ahead in my field for someone my age, and I'm very proud of myself because I worked extremely hard. Anyways, here's the issue. The other day, a bunch of people went out for drinks, including myself. They were both there. We were all sitting at the same table in a bar. Someone I haven't seen in a while asked me if I'm dating anyone. I replied, "No, not right now." My ex's wife quickly made a snark comment, "Oh, it's okay. Some people just stay single," in front of everyone, like 10 of our friends. Without missing a beat, I blurted out, "Yeah, just like some people are meant to stay unemployed." She got really upset, cried, and left. Her husband messaged me that I should apologize to her for embarrassing her. I said I will if she apologizes first. He said she refuses because what I said was worse, apparently. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. People need to learn not to start crap unless they can handle someone else finishing it for them. I have zero sympathy for jerks that are inexplicably rude and then have the audacity to act offended when the object of their rudeness fails to passively accept it. Not the jerk. What she did and said was uncalled for. What you replied with was gold. She seems jealous of your achievements and the fact that her husband still keeps in contact with you. It seems like a lot of insecurity on her end. Even though you are on good terms with your ex now, do you think it's possible to cut ties with him? It just seems like his wife gets a kick out of trying to berate you. He will always have to take her side since she is his life partner now. I just feel like it's going to cause a weird drift in your social circle if she keeps getting included, and she will, because she is his wife. Am I the jerk for telling my parents I refuse to go to church with them for Christmas? I'm previously divorced. Within the first several months of my first marriage, we had major problems, and my ex ended up going to jail. He refused any marriage counseling, and he walked out after 10 months of being married. It was horrible for my whole family. After some time and significant therapy, post-divorce, I met a wonderful man and we dated for a couple of years. My parents seemingly were upset that I was dating in general and went out of their way to be rude to him, but never offered an explanation. Last spring, we decided to marry with a short engagement, 6 months, because we want to have kids together, but we're both close to 40 years old. Before our engagement, I started the emotionally taxing process of petitioning the church for an annulment of my first marriage, which to this day is still pending. My parents firmly said I'm not allowed to marry and I have to honor my previous vow. When I said I'd marry anyway, my parents' behavior worsened. First, they wouldn't come stay at my house because we are committing adultery. They live out of state. Then they scheduled a conference call with me and my now husband, who isn't Catholic, to try and convince him not to marry me. When that didn't work, they refused to come to our wedding and publicly asked other members of my family not to attend because I'm not honoring my previous vows. Almost everyone came anyway, but it was disappointing. I've tried really hard to take the high road, but it's hard when they continue to act proud of what they did, like the boycott was God's great virtuous work, all whilst liking and commenting on my wedding photos, saying how beautiful I look. In an effort to mend fences, when my parents asked to stay with us for a week during Christmas, I obliged with the understanding that I'm not going to church with them this year. Shortly after arriving, my mom cornered me at breakfast asking what masses I was going to. I made it clear in a handful of words that I'm not going, just like I said a few weeks ago. She looked surprised and said, "I didn't think you were serious." Out of sheer exasperation, I told her that I don't want to attend Mass with people who used faith as a reason to rally people against me. She was taken aback and changed the subject. Later that day, my dad insisted I needed to apologize for talking to my mom like that. I said I answered the question with honesty and that I refused to be strong-armed now that they were in town to change my stance. He told me several times that my annulment wouldn't have been declined if I involved him, borderline implying that it's my fault it's been denied, and then went on to resort to name-calling, fallen away Catholic, when I still declined to go to Mass. He ended with sharing that they never would have stayed with me if they had known I wasn't going to go to church. I said that if they're that uncomfortable here, they're welcome to stay somewhere else in the future. Am I the jerk for not going to church with them? Am I the jerk for agreeing they should stay somewhere else? Update. Thank you everyone for your support. I went no contact today. In no small part thanks to the overwhelming response here. Here's to a healthy new year. Not the jerk. Your parents sound insane. Also, if you're divorced and not very religious from what you said, why are you bothering with an annulment? It's just more stress and work, and honestly, it means nothing in the real world. OP. Annulment should be about healing and closure, which I would have liked. This hasn't been the case for me, which is a whole different dissertation about how let down I feel about the Catholic faith as a whole right now with its current leadership. It's a tough spot trying to not throw out the baby with the bathwater. It's not the faith that's bad, it's the people representing it. Am I the jerk for ruining Christmas and being upset the only gifts I got from my family were joke gifts? Background. My family likes to play pranks with Christmas and birthday gifts. It's nothing new. I, 21 female, as well as my 5 siblings, from 29 to 37 years old, have all been pranked on our birthdays and on Christmas, and it's usually 1 or 2 gifts. This Christmas, though, I was the only person to get all joke gifts. For example, I unwrapped a MacBook for my brother, but when I opened it, it was just some chocolate, which I don't eat, so I gave it away. And the MacBook was actually given to my sister inside a bag that she wanted. Another gift was what I thought was a book I put on my Christmas list. It was actually just the book cover put on a dictionary. When I asked my mom about the book, she told me that she gave it to my sister-in-law. This went on with each present my siblings or parents had given me. AirPods was just a charger block. Adapter? Gift cards that were used and had 0 balance. A card with Monopoly money, and so on, totaling to about 12 joke gifts. I realized I went out of my way to get everyone something they wanted or they'd like, but I didn't get anything. At this point, I was bummed, so I went to the living room to watch TV with my boyfriend. At dinner, they were all talking about how much they loved their gifts, and when my dad asked why I hadn't said anything about mine, I said there wasn't much to say. Everyone but my boyfriend laughed, and my mom said it was no big deal, as everyone else also got some joke gifts. I told her every gift I got was a joke gift, and that the ones they got were also followed by real ones. My dad told me I needed to relax, as I'm making a big deal about it and I'd have next Christmas to get this stuff on my list. Not wanting to go back and forth, I told my boyfriend I wanted to leave and we can spend the rest of Christmas break with his family, then go home. My family got mad and told me not to go and to just stay because it wasn't serious. I left and put my phone on Do Not Disturb during the drive, and by the time we got to my boyfriend's parents' house, I had several missed calls and texts from them, calling me names like ungrateful, sensitive, and childish. They said I ruined Christmas and made my parents upset because I left. The next day, I exchanged and opened gifts with my boyfriend and his family, and one of the gifts I had gotten was the book I wanted, the book my mom pretended to give me. I posted it on my Instagram story, and not even 0 minutes after posting it, my sister sent a screenshot of my story to the family group chat, and they basically got mad at me for leaving and telling me I ruined Christmas over some presents. They told me I owe everyone, especially my parents, an apology because my mom spent New Year's sad because of my actions. Now I just want an outside party to tell me if I'm the jerk here. Am I in the wrong for being upset about the gifts and for leaving? After reading their messages and sitting on this for a few days, I'm now feeling like maybe I was upset over nothing and I need to apologize to them. Edit. My Christmas list did not include any expensive gifts, nor was I upset I didn't receive expensive gifts. I was merely upset because of being pranked with everything I got and being the only person who didn't get a real present at all. Another thing I'll address is I didn't do anything to my family which would warrant them to do this. The last big argument I had was with my sister, which was over a year and a half ago. Thank you for the replies, and I'll try my best to reply while I'm at work. One more edit. I participated in joke gifts when I was a kid, haven't participated in the last 10 years because I don't enjoy it or find it funny, which they do know. Don't apologize. Your family sucks, and you have done nothing wrong. I would write something like this in the group chat. Happy New Year, guys. I understand that Mom is sad that I left on Christmas, but you need to understand that you all made me sad on Christmas Day. I did not receive a single thoughtful gift from you guys, not one. Every single gift I opened was a prank where the joke was that you actually didn't get me something I would like, but something intentionally to upset me. My hope is that you all just didn't realize that every single gift you gave me was meant as a joke, but it was, every single one. It isn't being ungrateful to be disappointed in that, and I think you all know that. I'm ready to move on from this disappointing Christmas and to believe that next year will be different, but I will not be apologizing for leaving on Christmas when you all did this to me. How do I, 24 male, get my dad, 52, to realize that his wife, who's 38, is not my mom and to quit pressing a relationship? My mom passed when I was 14. I was always closer with her than my dad, so I took it really hard and I still miss her every day. My dad moved on extremely quickly. I'm talking about 1.5 months later, and he was openly dating his current wife. I suspect he was cheating on my mom. She moved in 4 months after my mom's passing. Then 9 months after her passing, they announced their engagement on my birthday as one of my gifts. I obviously didn't take it well. Made a scene, dumped the cake they got me, and walked out. I disappeared for a few days until they were about to put out a missing persons runaway report. I was forced to go back. They tried to get rid of all the evidence of my mom, pictures, personal effects, memories, and others. I kept what I could and I hid some others. They wouldn't let me celebrate her birthday or anything to do with my mom. They tried to force me to call my dad's wife my mom, but I never did. They would ignore me when I called her by her name. They would introduce herself as my mom. I would correct her every time. It got to the point that I stopped talking to her unless it was absolutely necessary, or if I was correcting her. These talks were usually one-word answers. My dad got angry every time I didn't call her mom, used her first name, or introduced her as dad's wife. I once spent 2 weeks not talking to either of them when I was 16 because I was ruining their family dynamic. Until I can be part of the family, there was nothing to say or do as one. They caved at about the 15th day of no communication or interaction. I turned 18 and left for uni and went extremely low contact and didn't go back. When I was 21, I got engaged to my fiance. She knows about my relationship with my dad and his wife. She respects it and is on my side. When they found out, my dad and his wife had a fit. They didn't know I was seeing anyone. My dad's wife posted on social media saying she was excited that her son, me, was getting married with a bunch of other things, saying she can't wait until she becomes a grandma. I made a short post saying I'm not and never was her son, and she won't be a grandma to any future kids. My dad got mad, saying that I was disrespecting my mother and embarrassing her. I asked who we were talking about because my only mother, the real, only biological one that gave me life, and at this point, I lost both of my parents on that day when I was 14. That was 3 years ago, and we went back to low and no contact. But my wife is about 8 months pregnant now. They showed up at my house. I never gave them my address. They wanted to talk and meet my wife. I didn't let them in and said to turn around and go back to where they came from. But apparently, they decided they wanted to move to my city and state to be closer and repair the relationship between us. She said she missed her son and wanted to be a better mom and grandma. I called them delusional and told them to leave, and I slammed the door. They bought a house about 5 minutes away from us. This has all been way too much for me, and my therapist wants me to let them in, but I would rather cut all contact. It wouldn't be so bad if they would just stop trying to replace my mom and acting like she never existed. I honestly don't know much about my dad's wife. I don't even know if I know who my dad is anymore. My wife is struggling to support me emotionally and doesn't know how to help. Please, internet strangers, how do I convince them, dad and dad's wife, that she is not and will never be my mom? ETA, about my therapist. He said I should try to express my true feeling towards them in a non-hostile and threatening manner. Do it in a way that is constructive but gets to the point. Learn more about my dad and his wife and get to the root of who they are and how they feel about the situation. But I'm going to find a better therapist. Update. To answer some questions and to clarify, my wife, me, and our unborn baby are doing good overall. My wife is over being pregnant at this point. Our baby should be here in the coming weeks. I did find a new therapist. I called to cancel the rest of my appointments on the books, and he did not take it well, so I have put in a complaint. I met with my new one, and I like her a lot better. I feel like I'm actually being heard and actually getting the help I need. I want to make this clear that I'm 24. My dad's wife is 38, 14 years older than me. My dad is 52, 14 years older than his wife. So when she entered my life, I was 14 and she was 28. There were also theories about how my dad might have had something to do with my mom's passing. That's not the case, but I still believe they were together before she passed. I'm investing in a security system, but it will be a few weeks until they can install it. But for now, we have a doorbell cam and some cheaper cameras. Social media. Since the post about her being excited about being a grandma, how my wife and I are getting engaged, we have locked down all social media. My wife and I are not active on any platforms anymore, except for messaging or sharing pictures. We found a leak as well. It's my brother-in-law, wife's sister's husband. We had a family dinner where we had planned on working on the birthing plan. Brother-in-law was insistent on being there, which was odd as he was not a part of it to begin with. While we were waiting for my mother-in-law to get home, I shared what happened between my dad and how it made me and my wife feel. Brother-in-law got visibly uncomfortable. But when we called him out on it, he denied it, but it was obvious. Sister-in-law called him out and he broke down. He said he had been talking with them because we need all the family support we can get, and they should know their grandbaby. This caused an argument. It ended with sister-in-law moving out and staying with us. They have no kids and had some issues. I think it's over for them. I will never trust him. Our birthing plan has been locked down and secure, made a day later without brother-in-law. But we have some just-in-case crazy showing up plans. Everyone who needs to know the plans and details knows. And now, it's surprisingly hard to get a protection order. Technically, what they have done is not against the law yet. They are perceived as no real danger at this time since there were no threats made, and they left when asked to. They have free will to move wherever they want. Also, since a family member gave another family member my address, it's fair game. In regards to the grandparents' rights, it's only when my wife and I have lost custody or are unable to take care of them. But my mother-in-law and father-in-law will be taking on that role if needed. My wife and I are not in a position to move. We just bought our house when interest rates were low and my in-laws helped with the down payment. It's nothing massive, but it is home and perfect for our starter family. My dad and his wife are unable, shouldn't, have kids. I don't know from which side made it impossible, so that may be why the constant pressure. I did write my dad a letter summing up why I want no contact, how I feel about what they did, how his wife is not my mom and she never will be. If I feel like giving them a chance, it's on my and my family's terms. Specified that my family is me, my wife, and any possible kids moving forward. They are not to talk to my wife or I at any time unless it's through our lawyer. He can decide what information to pass on. They're not welcome around us at any point, including our house, school, daycare, social gatherings, birthdays, Christmas, barbecues, etc. As well as in public, we are strangers. Keep space and act like we don't exist. If they break this, they will get a follow-up letter, up to and including a protection order. Update. My dad and his wife tried to show up at the hospital. Still not sure how they found us or knew where we were, but staff blocked them and covered for us. A bunch of you said that we would start running into them randomly around the town, mainly grocery shopping and stores. Even if I drove out of my way, we would sometimes bump into one or both of them. Law enforcement still says that they're not doing anything against the law and don't seem dangerous or malicious. We did our best to ignore them or stay home or have a family member get the items. My therapist has sure earned her paycheck for the last few months. My lawyer is trying their best, but the laws I feel are against us. innocent until proven guilty, or in this case, nothing is dangerous until after it is. Or hurry up and wait until something bad happens, then we might do something. It's super frustrating. And now we moved. Now I never want to do that again. Good family helps, but with a newborn and crazy people around, it was still stressful. I know it doesn't sound possible, and I'm still in disbelief, but my in-laws are amazing and got us in contact with a friend of theirs. Long story short, these friends wanted to downsize since all of their kids moved out. Told in-laws and brought them over. We ended up coming up with a really good deal. Our new home is bigger on more land, but needs a lot of work. It's still baby-friendly though. It's old and outdated, but we've been making it ours. We're not rich by any stretch. We have good networks around us. I'm also doing 99% of the work to the house myself. Sister-in-law moved in and helped us make it possible. Since moving, we haven't seen my dad or his wife. That was until about 2 weeks ago. My lawyer contacted me saying my dad reached out and wanted to talk. I tried to say hard pass, but they advised me by saying, I think it would be in your best interest. We set up a date and time in public. 3 days later, I was at a coffee shop and we met up. Even though we were early, they were waiting for us. It was just my wife and I. Also a paralegal from my lawyer's office undercover. I could see the disappointment in their eyes that our baby did not come with us. It started awkward. They started some BS small talk, but I just said, what do you want? Well, my dad's health is not well and it's going downhill steadily. May have about 2 years left at the most. They showed scans, doctor's notes, tests, and other items to prove it. It was quiet the entire time they talked, and all I could think about is, that sucks for him. It was like getting news that someone you knew of when you were a kid passed or is sick, like a neighbor or an old babysitter. For me, no real emotion or feelings, because I feel like I didn't have a real connection with him. My wife knew I was irritated and tried to silently calm me down. When they were done, I said something to the effect of, I'm sorry this happened to you. I hope you get better. Then I got up to walk out. His wife opened her mouth to say something like, That's it? That's all you have to say? You owe it to him to… I didn't let her finish and I went off on them. I said everything that I had been saying in my head for years, a practice monologue I started when I was a teen. Highlights include, but are not limited to, how he owed me more than anything, how he ruined any type of relationship the moment he stopped using his brain, when he tried to erase my real and only mom. Then I finished with, my real mother passed when I was 14. Pretend I did as well, because that's when he, my dad, became dead to me. Now, looking back, I find it in a way funny that my 5'4" wife was holding back a 6'3", 200-pound plus guy, but they kinda looked like fish opening and closing their mouth. My wife then escorted me away. When we got to the car, I had my second panic attack, but since then, things have been quiet but still fresh. I'm struggling but working through it. When my wife notices me zoning, she just hands me our kid and things get better. I hope you all have a wonderful day and may your life be blessed. Am I the jerk for not having a child until my husband agrees to my fourth requirement? I'm 28 female and my husband, who's 29 male. We got married 9 years ago while we were both still in college. We never talked about having kids. Our relationship progressed quickly, leaving out many important topics. My husband also never expressed a strong desire to be a father, but I know he likes kids and gets along well with our nieces and nephews. But since last year, he surprised me by saying he wanted to have a kid with me. He felt it was time for us to start a family. I was confused because I didn't expect this change of heart from him. I said I needed time to think, and he agreed to give me space. After a lot of reflection, I realized I wasn't entirely against the idea of having a kid, but I also wasn't excited about it. I knew having a kid would completely change our lives, and I would have to give up many things that I value. So I decided to make a list of 4 conditions that my husband would have to meet before I agreed to get pregnant. I thought it was fair since I would be taking on most of the risk and sacrifice. My conditions were, 1, he would have to undergo a fertility test to ensure he doesn't have any issues that could make conception difficult. 2, he would have to temporarily step back from his company and his brother's business, helping out for the first 2 years, similar to what his brother did when his wife had their first, occasionally assisting at the company, committing to share the baby's care more than equally without expecting me to do more than him. 3, he would have to accept that I choose the birth method I feel most comfortable with, whether natural or induced. And 4, he would have to agree to have a vasectomy after I get pregnant Because I don't want to have more than one kid. I presented my requirements to my husband. He agreed to the first 3, but is refusing the 4th. I asked for reasons since we wouldn't have any more kids after this, but his responses were vague, fearing that something might go wrong. I'm still holding on to these requirements, but I'm also starting to reconsider if he doesn't agree soon. Not the jerk. I think it's reasonable if you're the one who has to go through the pregnancy. Vasectomies are reversible. Pretty sure the pain of giving birth is way worse than a vasectomy. Having requirements is perfectly reasonable and he's free to refuse. If you two aren't on the same page, which is okay, you need a split. Sorry, but I hate to see men get vasectomies at 29. I'm a nurse in the OR, and I remember thinking to myself, dude, this guy is making the wrong choice here. Men should only get vasectomies, in my opinion, after the age of 45, because life happens and things happen. Why would he ever want to get a vasectomy? What if you guys got a divorce? What if he, at 40 years old, met a woman that never had kids and now she wants a kid? You can't force him to do something like this. This is coming from a woman who has kids herself and a husband who is 45 years old, and I still don't want him to get a vasectomy. My daughter-in-law stole $17,000 from me. Now I'm suing her. They aren't actually married. I'm just referring to her as my daughter-in-law since it's easier for the sake of storytelling. Our son and daughter-in-law, who are 26, have been together for 2 years and they live together. We've always thought she was a very nice girl, and she seems to make my son happy, so no problem from us. Our son has his own law firm that he's currently trying to get started. We're very proud of him, and we're fortunate enough to help him with a startup loan. Daughter-in-law works a retail job that she's very happy with. Some time ago, husband and I were over at their apartment, and we decided to order some food. Husband and I wanted to pay, and since daughter-in-law was ordering from her phone, we gave her our card so that she could draw the money from our account. We thought it goes without saying that this was to draw an amount once for the lunch. However, daughter-in-law apparently put our card into her Apple Pay and has been using it ever since. We didn't notice for some months, but recently saw withdrawals that we didn't recognize. We had our accountant look into it, and he discovered that 1, daughter-in-law has been using our card on her phone, and that 2, she spent around $17,000. We were quite shocked and called her up and asked her why the heck she's been using our card. She got very defensive, trying to deny it, and eventually just said that she was entitled to it. And why do we care since we haven't noticed her use of it in over 4 months? We told her she needed to pay us back immediately or we'd report her actions for theft. She apparently doesn't have the money to pay us back. We've gone to our son and he's offered to pay us back, even though he actually cannot afford to. This isn't about the money for us, but more about the fact that she's stolen a huge amount of money. While we are comfortable, and it took us time to notice, we still recognize the seriousness of stealing $17,000. Our son has completely dismissed her behavior and excused it as her being stressed. She's taken no responsibility, and we're honestly wanting to go forward with the police report to teach her the consequences to her actions. Would we be the jerks for doing this? Not the jerk. $17,000 in theft is $17,000 in theft. Inexcusable behavior on her part. Don't sue, just report her to the cops. OP can and should do both. 1, because her actions are criminal, and the second, to recover her money. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. If the daughter-in-law is this entitled, I have a feeling one day she won't have a problem stealing from the son's law firm or something else that could get him in serious trouble. The son is looking at things through rose-colored in-love glasses, but trusting a person like this can really ruin someone's life. Your son might be angry, but in the long run, you might also be saving him from a worse fate, OP. The audacity of this girl. I don't care who it is, how close I am to them, or how much money they have. Never in a million years would I ever steal like this. I wonder if she tried to tell the son it was an accident and her phone just happened to save the card. She knew exactly what she was doing. A broke person doesn't blow $17,000 in 4 months. They're careful with their money. I don't spend that much money on myself in 3 years, let alone 4 months. This was no accident, OP. Press charges. Someone who steals is not a person you can ever trust to have in your life. I don't care if it's $20 or $20,000. When someone is dishonest like that and is comfortable being dishonest, you need to cut them out of your life. Well, what do you think? Should OP sue her daughter-in-law or not? Please let us know. Absolutely. You can't just steal $17,000 from someone because you feel like it. Am I the jerk for re-gifting my boyfriend's present, a $1,300 laptop, to my sister? I, 23 female, love my boyfriend, who's 24 male, and we've been dating for about 2 years. He's always been really supportive, and our relationship is great. So when it came time for Christmas, I wanted to get him something really special. He's been complaining about his laptop for a while and has expressed the desire to upgrade to a newer model. I decided I would surprise him with a brand new laptop for Christmas. I wanted to get him the best laptop I could, so for the weeks leading up to Christmas, when he'd complain about his laptop, I'd take these opportunities to casually ask him about which laptop he liked, what he wanted in a new laptop, and so on. The main problem he had with his laptop was the speed, so I thought it would be fitting to get him the same model that he had, MacBook Pro, just the latest version. Now, I'm not a tech person. I don't know the first thing about RAM, SSD, etc. I just assumed a $1,300 laptop would be more than enough for his needs, so I bought the laptop without doing any more research into it. Christmas Day came and I gave my boyfriend the laptop. He was so excited until he saw the specs. When he saw that the laptop had 8 gigabytes of RAM, he was really disappointed because he couldn't get his work done on such a slow machine. He was adamant that he needed something with more RAM. This turned into a full-blown argument. I tried to explain to him that I had done my best and I spent a lot of money on the laptop, so he should appreciate it, but he wasn't having it. He said that he would rather return the laptop and get the one he wanted. At this point, I was really hurt and upset. I had gone out of my way to get him a really nice present, and I felt like he didn't appreciate it at all. Yes, I could return it and get him the one he wanted, but I had already spent a lot of money. The fact that he wasn't even willing to give it a chance really made me frustrated. So long story short, I decided to re-gift the laptop to my sister, who's 19. She's a college student, and I know that she could use a new laptop like this. I know it may sound selfish, but I didn't think it was fair that he didn't appreciate my gift, and I wanted to make sure the laptop went to someone that would actually appreciate it. My boyfriend is, to put it bluntly, really upset. He does not understand why I wouldn't just return it and get him a new one that he wanted, and cannot believe I would do something so selfish when I know how much he needs a new laptop. I feel kind of bad, but at the same time, this wasn't cheap for me, and a little appreciation would have been nice. Am I the jerk? You're the jerk. Your boyfriend sounds like he was appreciative of your gift, but he needed a machine that can do what he needs it to. That's the risk of getting a laptop or something similar, cars, etc., without the involvement of the person you're buying it for. The correct action would have been returning the laptop and allowing him to put the money towards a machine that fits his needs. Not to mention, once you gift something, it doesn't belong to you anymore. It was his laptop, and you took it to gift it to your sister. Soft, you're the jerk. You seem to be placing more importance on your own need to feel validated in your gift giving, rather than wanting to make sure your gift will actually be useful and appreciated. I can understand why you would feel hurt and disappointed that your gift didn't have the intended effect, especially after putting a lot of money into it. But the gift was intended to fill a specific need in your boyfriend's life, and it doesn't meet that need. He shouldn't have to try to make do with inadequate equipment just because you spent a lot of money on it without doing further research. Since you knew and didn't have a lot of knowledge about what specifically he would need, a better idea may have been a gift card or money to put towards a laptop that he could pick out himself based on what he knows he needs and will use it for. Giving the laptop to your sister isn't the answer here. Put it another way. Imagine you drive a crappy old car to work. It's falling apart. You often complain to your boyfriend how crappy it is and how it barely gets you to your job, a 30-minute car ride away. Your boyfriend picks up on this and decides to surprise you for Christmas with a brand new bike. Sure, it's nice and very thoughtful, but it's not what you need to get to work. But just give it a chance. No, giving a bike the chance to be a car isn't realistic. It's just not the right gift. You're the jerk. You meant well, but your gift was not what he needed. You could have offered to return it and get a gift card to the computer shop so he could put the money towards something more expensive that fits his needs. But instead, you threw a fit and gave it away. Think a little next time before you react. There's often another, more reasonable solution. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her boyfriend? Please let us know. MacBook. Ugh. Everyone knows Microsoft is better than Apple. If I have a problem, I should take it to HR? Okay. This just happened today. So a little backstory. I work for a warehouse that specializes in computer equipment. It's generally very uneventful. Everyone is mostly nice to each other, except for one unsavory engineer. He had a reputation for being very belligerent and almost impossible to work with. But with a couple months left until his retirement, people tended to leave him alone. I knew all too well he would be gone by summer, so I decided not to engage with him until he was gone. Cue this morning when I went to the warehouse to do some small inventory, and up comes the engineer huffing and puffing. Without evidence, he started accusing me of messing around with some pallets he was working on. Calmly, I explained to him that I did not, and he can check the camera he installed in the warehouse to see that I did no such thing. He kept on insisting that I did, growing increasingly angrier and started going off on me in the warehouse full of people. But I did not waver and calmly insisted that he can just check the security footage that he has access to, but he just kept going off on me. At this point, I calmly told him to breathe because he was getting out of control. And this is where it went from bad to worse. He started screaming and going off on me even louder, that he is 50 years older than me, and I cannot tell him what to do. I said nothing and watched as the engineer got redder and redder in the face. Eventually he yelled, "If you have a problem with how I act, take it to HR or the boss," and stomped away. So I did just that. I made a quick note of who was in the warehouse, noted the time, asked 3 people to be my witnesses of what happened. So up to HR I went and poured out every exhaustive detail I can remember. I explained that I've been in enough companies to know that kind of treatment and verbal mistreatment borderlines harassment, if not pure threatening behavior. I explained very calmly I'm not comfortable working in that environment, and I do not wish to escalate the situation anymore. I just wanted the incident documented and on record in case the engineer tried to twist the story to management. HR said they would take care of it. 2 hours later, I found out that the engineer was told to go home, and not even 20 minutes later after that, he had been made permanently working from home. And not even 20 minutes after that, I found out that all the engineer's credentials had been revoked, his remote access to the company network disabled, and his day-to-day duties were divided to other people. His final project is now to write up his tasks and how to do them. With 7 months left to his retirement, it's not looking very good that he'll be around until then. Christmas Karen wants boneless chicken breast. This was a few years back, but working this holiday season, I retold the story to coworkers and felt this was a good place to post it. To preface, I'm a career butcher and at the time was working for the food hall. If anyone isn't familiar, the meat department becomes crazy around November and doesn't abate until after Christmas. We took holiday orders in person then, now mostly all online unless they're odd. As you might imagine, the orders are usually for standing rib roasts, tenderloins, hams, turkeys, and ducks and geese. They really add up, and for my boss, sorting all the paper orders is a nightmare. Enter Karen. "I would like to place a holiday order." Me, gets relevant info. "Cool. What would you like on the 24th? Karen. 1 pound of boneless chicken. Me. "Oh, no problem. You actually don't need to order that. We'll have plenty of regular chicken, steaks, and burger. You only need to place an order for roasts, etc. Karen. "I had to wait forever last year. This year, I don't want to wait, so I'll order it." Me. "We'll have 2 lines, so if you're just coming to get regular items, you won't need to wait in the order line." "But I want to make sure." At this point, I was already way done, so I decided I would comply, maliciously. I took her order, then proceeded to inform every single person in my department of the situation and the plan. The day of, she came up, told the guy at the counter she wanted chicken. Having been warned by me, he asked, "Did you pre-order it?" Karen. "Yes." Coworker. "Okay, let me go search through the sheet to find your order." "You can just grab it from the case." "No, we already have yours put away. I'll find it. I wouldn't want it to get lost in the cooler and go bad over Christmas." Karen is frustrated. "Okay." Coworker goes to our order book, searches through, and finds her name, and says, "Okay, I found you on the list. Now I just have to find your order." Coworker enters the cooler, and being how full the cooler was, it was like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It took him about 15 minutes. At multiple points through the ordeal, other employees greeted her. She tried to get them to get her chicken for her, and they all told her, because I had warned them, that she had to wait for the one specifically put aside for her. I estimate that she waited almost 30 minutes, including line time to get to our counter. Edit. Since a few of you asked or remarked, I cut out most of our dialogue for clarity, as much of it was me trying differently worded ways to explain to her that placing an order would be self-defeating. She just wanted to avoid the line at the holiday table. Additionally, this was before lockdown, and we literally had never been out of boneless chicken, so I guaranteed she'd get them either way. Am I the jerk for refusing to give my daughter a kidney? I'm 38, female. My daughter, who's 21, is suffering from kidney failure. We've been estranged for 3 years, and it was due mainly to the fact that she was taking her health issues, as well as her fights with her dad, who's 38, and stepmom, who's 31, out on me. I spent hundreds of my husband, Ethan, who's 49, and my own money on making therapy for my daughter, but she has remained bitter and difficult. Ethan and I have 2 kids, who are 9 and 11. I had to give up quite a bit in terms of career prospects due to my first pregnancy. My parents also disowned me, but then Ethan helped me get a degree in accounting and also a real estate license. I have connections from Ethan that are helping me do nearly 6 figures in real estate commissions, and I just joined an accounting firm that hired me based on the client connections I have from Ethan. Now I'm working 50-hour weeks, but I love it because I'm finally earning 6 figures, and Ethan's business is also at a place where he can work at home. My daughter at this point was mostly low contact since she turned 18, but now she's back because she needs a kidney. I made the mistake of letting friends know about her situation, and everybody I know from my mommy groups from when my daughter was born started dogpiling on me saying, "You gotta do this, mama," and like I'd be held down to get my kidney. Because of this pressure, despite Ethan saying no, I went to the doctor and found out I was a match. I tried to reach out to my daughter's dad to see if he's a match, but her stepmom had apparently already called her screaming that her dad was the provider for her and 3 kids. So how dare she ask this of her father? My ex said that his duty was obviously to his wife and his kids, so no testing for him. And so he and everybody else just wanted to be my kidney. I tried to communicate to my daughter that I'm afraid of surgery. I was too new to take that much time from work, so I'd likely be working while in pain. She replied asking, "Doesn't Ethan make a lot of money?" I told her again how risky the surgery was, and she said, echoing my friends, "I don't care. This isn't about you." I was so furious from that conversation that when I went to see the doctor and the doctor asked if somebody was coercing me, I told him that at this point, I'd rather die than continue to serve my ungrateful, rude daughter. I said I indeed felt coerced, and if I did do it, I'd probably end up having burning resentment towards the recipient and the doctors if I woke up in pain. The doctor immediately said I am therefore not a compatible donor and that I should never feel like I'm a prisoner. I told my friends and Ethan this, and while Ethan just asked if I was okay and that the boys and him need me, my friends were furious and tried to shame me online with, "What kind of mother posts?" They're insisting I go back and say I was lying and that I've changed my mind, to sign something showing I wasn't coerced and get it notarized if it's what it takes. Am I the jerk? I think OP is hiding a lot of information that will paint her in a bad light. This write-up is full of narcissistic behavior. She spent most of the post talking about her husband and money. Most of the time she talked about her daughter, it was dismissive, then whined and whined that her mom friends think she's a bad mother for not wanting to save her own kid. No one owes anyone an organ, but even ignoring that, this lady is insufferable. You're the jerk. You think she isn't scared? She's 21 and is facing this disease. It's obvious that you resent her for being born and holding you back. It's not her fault. You chose the behavior that created her. Your parents suck, but it's not her fault. You spent money for her therapy. What about your therapy? Sounds like nobody cares about this young woman. No wonder she's angry. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her daughter? Please let us know. I discovered that my boyfriend is cheating after buying him an expensive Christmas gift. I, 25 female, discovered that my ex-boyfriend, male 26, had been cheating on me for 5 months. I was really devastated and felt a lot of rage inside of me, especially after buying him a new PlayStation 5 since he wanted one but couldn't afford it. I was saving up a lot of money to buy him the console with some games. We'd been dating for 3 years and living together for a year and a half. I immediately kicked him out after his side girl messaged me apologizing, not knowing that he had a girlfriend. I didn't believe her because I trusted my boyfriend a lot, but she came with receipts. There were a lot of messages where he flirted with her and he even sent pictures to her. I was just so upset. The worst part is when I confronted him. He didn't even try to deny it and just called me boring. He insulted me a lot, saying I was no fun and he deserves better. I was really enraged. I started screaming at him that he doesn't do anything around here and never paid rent because he's a lazy, jobless jerk who can't even bother looking for a decent job. At one point, I mentioned how he will never get the PS5 that I bought and return it soon to the store. He looked like a deer in headlights. That jerk. He immediately changed his attitude and acted sorry, started apologizing and crying, saying he never meant to cheat and promised me he would make it up to me. He really wants that PS5, doesn't he? He's a jerk. He never cared for my feelings. He only cared when I mentioned something he wanted. Such hypocrisy. I wasted no time and kicked him out. He's still sending me a lot of texts filled with apologies and even an ugly photo of him crying. I told him to not waste my time because he won't get the PS5. We're done. Then I blocked him. I won't take the PS5. I already have one, but I remembered that my parents were planning on buying one for my little brother. The plan was going to be them buying the PS5 and I would buy the games for it with an extra PS Store gift card. But looks like I will give my parents a call and tell them there's a change in our plans for my brother's gift. Let me guess. When you previously asked him to get a job and contribute to the household, he called you a gold digger. Good for you, not taking his gaslighting and BS any longer. I'm sure you figured out by now that he was never going to contribute and intended to use you for a free ride while he had his fun. You are so well rid of him. Best Christmas gift you could give yourself. OP. He actually called me controlling. We fought a lot about it, but this was my first time showing a serious reaction to it. Update. Today was amazing. I celebrated Christmas with my family, my parents, and my little brother. My parents cooked the best food, so I ate well after not having an appetite for a few days. It was wonderful. As for my parents' agreement about the gifts, we agreed on something. I'll gift the PS5 and games to my brother. My parents bought him an Oculus for the new PS5 and other accessories for the console. When the time came for the presents, I was shocked to learn that my brother got me an expensive gift. He got me some makeup from Sephora and a gift card. My parents then informed me that my brother was saving for my gift since the beginning of the year. I cried. I literally started bawling my eyes out and I gave him a big hug. I thanked him a lot for the gift and said that I loved it. When he opened my parents' present, he was really confused and stated that he doesn't have a PS5 for this Oculus. I told him to open my gift, then he opened it and started crying immediately and hugged me. I don't know what came over me, but I started crying with him. I really love my brother. He's really sweet and a good-behaved kid. He's 12 now. That's why he deserved every gift that he got. It was expensive, yes, but it was worth every penny to see him happy. After we all opened our gifts, I helped him set up the PS5 in his room and we played some games together. Suddenly, he tells me that he loves me and I'm the best big sister in the world. For the third time, I started crying. So there you have it. I had the best Christmas with my family, and seeing my brother so happy was worth the heartbreak I went through. As for my garbage ex, he's still making new accounts on Instagram to apologize. I told him to buzz off, and I know that he's only apologizing because he wants the PS5, not because he feels guilty. I mentioned that I gave it to someone who deserves it way more than he does. He started going off on me, and I said if he didn't leave me alone, I'll call the cops. He stopped after that, and I haven't heard from him ever since. Am I the jerk for saying I don't want to be called aunt? I'm 32, female. My father is 20 years older than his younger brother, David, who's 34. Due to various factors, David spent a majority of his early years with my parents. By the time I was 10 and David was 12, he moved in. David and my dad look nearly identical, and people always assumed that he was his son. My parents always said that he was their first kid. They loved him like a son, etc. I always felt a bit weird about this. David is a nice guy, but he's not my brother. I never understood why it was my parents' job to pick up the slack of my grandparents. It caused a few disagreements in my youth that always boiled down to, David has nothing, you have everything, be nice. I hated that I essentially went from an only child to a younger sister without being asked. I never looked at David as a brother, but obviously due to our small age gap, I never saw him as an uncle. To me, he's just family. We get along well. David is now married and they have a daughter, Arya. My parents are grandma and grandpa to her. It does make me feel some sort of way that they've christened her as their first grandbaby, but I've accepted I can't control how they feel and relate themselves to David. So long as when my husband and I have kids, they're the same to them, and I know they will be. That's fine. The real issue is that David, his wife, and my parents have tried making me Aunt Tabitha. I don't like it. Aria is not my niece. I tried to just refer to myself as my first name with her, but the hint wasn't going through. As Aria is too little to speak, 8 months, I plan to let it go for now. Yesterday, we were at my parents' for Christmas. Aria was being fussed over, as usual. When it came time for David and his wife to help her unwrap the gifts my husband and I got her, David told Aria, "This is from Auntie Tabitha and Uncle Mike." Without thinking, I said, "Just Tabitha and Mike." David gave me an odd look, but went back to unwrapping. Later on, privately, David asked if I was okay. I said, "Yes, why?" He said I got weird during gifts. I said, "Not weird, just factual. I'm not Aria's aunt." He was still confused. I said I'm not his sister. This seemed to hurt his feelings, but he said okay, apologized, and said he wouldn't say it again. My mom pulled me aside later and said I was cruel to David. She said he considered me his sister. I simply said I'm not, and I'm not that baby's aunt. My mom gave me a disgusted look. She and my dad barely spoke to me the rest of the night, though David and his wife were polite. My husband feels there were better ways of going about it. Am I the jerk? It's okay to feel how you feel. Your feelings are 100% valid. It's nice they're trying to include you. My kids call both my best friends aunt and uncle whilst they're young, but naturally will drop to first names when they're older. It's not always about blood relations. You're the jerk. While you're technically correct, it seems you're holding some weird resentment over the fact that your dad took in his little brother and that families, are meant to love and take care of each other. Are you often this unsympathetic towards people, even family? Do you only look at things as one way or the other? I don't know. I feel like your behavior from this post is very odd. Just as you have accepted that you can't control how your parents relate to David, they need to accept that they can't control how you relate to David. They can decide to think of him like a son, but they can't force you to think of him like a brother. Not the jerk. What's this? Another person on Reddit making a huge deal out of nothing? What a surprise. When people have lives with no problems or worries, they come up with stupid things like this to get upset over. I feel bad for your family having to deal with you and your BS. You're the jerk. You're 34 years old and still holding on to the "I'm not the center of attention" jealousy that you had when you were a kid. David is technically your uncle, but he was raised as your brother. The level of disregard and disrespect and just sheer jealousy and bitterness in your post. You really need to do some self-reflection and apologize to David and the rest of your family. Hope it's not too late for you to fix your relationships. Otherwise, when you do have kids, we'll be saying, "Am I the jerk for telling my mom she doesn't love my kid enough?" Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her brother or her uncle? You know what I mean. Please let us know. Bruh. I wasted 2 hours of my sister's time because she refused to listen to me. When I was younger, around a decade ago, I used to love 2 things, cars and roads. Still, to this day, I love cars, but the way I loved roads was through maps. My favorite activity when I was bored was to go on the Maps app and look at the highways that surrounded my area. My oldest sister at the time was the only sibling of mine who had a license. One summer day, she was bored and decided to take me and her boyfriend to an amusement park an hour and a half away from home. The story begins on the way back. My father needed the car at the car dealership as it was scheduled to have routine maintenance done the next morning. My father sent her the address of the dealership and requested that she drop the car off and he will go and pick us up at the dealer. Now that the context is out of the way, here's where my sister made a mistake. She typed in the address and clicked on the nearest place with that road. The issue is that the nearest place with that road was a town going an hour in the opposite direction. She gets onto the road that I'll call State Route 100. This intersects with Interstate 1, which we were supposed to get onto. When she passes the highway, the following interaction ensues. Me, "You were supposed to make that right." Her, "That's not what the map says." 5 minutes later, I say it again. Me, "We're heading in the wrong direction. This does not go home." Her, "Maybe it's an alternate route that's faster." Me, "I don't think a road going in the opposite direction is faster." She cuts me off, now annoyed. "Listen, I'm going to focus on what the map says, not you. Just stop already. And with that, I followed her instruction. After all, why would I complain on going on a road I've never been on? From what I remember after that, we stopped for gas about half an hour in. My sister was still convinced we were going in the right direction, but why should I correct her? She's listening to the map after all. The fallout. We hit an expressway, and my sister's convinced we made it home and is pleased with herself. This was until an overhead sign said, Town B Regional Airport, 1 mile. At this point, my sister realized her mistake. She starts freaking out and saying, I didn't know this road went here. I was following the map. OP, why didn't you tell me we were going the wrong way? I was scared of her getting mad at me, so I just said, after you told me to stop, I just stopped paying attention to where you were going. She eventually pulled into a gas station and saw where she set her GPS to. After correcting her mistake, we head the opposite direction, although the car ride was rather silent. We eventually see signs for the amusement park we started at because she had to turn left at the road I originally told her to turn at. And this is how I turned a drive that was supposed to be an hour and a half into a 3.5-hour journey. Years have passed since this happened, and I told my father, who thought it was hysterical. I often consider telling my sister, but we sadly rarely speak anymore. I feel my boyfriend is taking advantage of my kindness. I confronted him. Am I the jerk? My boyfriend, 33 male, and I, 38 female, have been dating since summer of 2021, and since then he has stayed at my apartment every day and every night. He owns his home less than a mile away, which he said he purchased for his 3 roommates who are looking for a place to live. He only charges them $300 or so a month, out of the goodness of his heart. I've only been there twice for house parties, which I essentially invited myself to when we were getting to know each other. I never have asked him for money, not for rent, not for utilities, not for the groceries I always have to buy. He never goes shopping for any food or household supplies. 2 separate instances, I asked if he could get toilet paper. Once, he bought a small 4-pack at the gas station he was already shopping at, which I'm assuming is just to tide us over until I got a better pack. He has IBS and goes through a lot. And the second time, he brought in a big garbage bag of almost empty rolls from his bathrooms at work, which they save. He doesn't cook and said in the past it's not important to him, or he doesn't think of it, yet will certainly eat the food that I buy and make. For the most part, I was more than happy to provide, but as time goes on, I feel like I'm carrying the mental load of living together by myself. My apartment is in disarray, and I can never get it under control with only me doing any work. I've mentioned parts of the above to him over the past year, and sometimes it would result in him sheepishly doing 1 sink full of dishes and leaving the rest for me. Or when I tell him he has to figure out dinner for us for 1 night out of the 7 because I'm working late, that means he's door-dashing us something at 8 p.m. It's things like that make me start to resent him and ruin my attraction to him. It hurts my feelings. For such a nice guy, how can he be so thoughtless? It feels thoughtless to me anyway. I told him tonight I feel it would be best if we return to our old living situation, him at his home and me alone here. I expressed I can't, or won't, handle all of the responsibility of our lives co-inhabiting. I also said it really hurt my feelings that for Christmas, he got me Drano, which he wanted to give me on Christmas. Meanwhile, the sink has been backing up for a month, and a set of ladles. He didn't say anything. He just sat there and stared at me. I asked if he had anything to say, any feelings about it. He said he didn't know what to say. I felt insulted. There are far too many women in this same situation, I'm finding as I read Reddit. Are all men truly just one-track minded? They only think of themselves? Why don't men just take the initiative to help their partners without having to be given lists or told what to do or nagged about it? Update. So since this, he was still in my living room for a few hours. I've been in bed sick, and laying there, I got upset. I walked back in and asked twice more. You have nothing to say? No words? No, I'm sorry you feel that way. What can I do? Nothing? No emotion? I can't believe it. This was supposed to be my best friend. I told him we're breaking up and he needs to go home now. I'm honestly really surprised and hurt by his lack of reaction. I should have known. Update 2. I packed his things and he picked up this morning. I asked him again if he has any hurt feelings about this and he was silent. I'm sorry, but I started to cry because it's just so hurtful. He said he was blindsided, then silent. I said, that's all I get after 2.5 years? In tears, and he just said, bye Lauren, like he normally would. I needed him to hear me or understand where I was coming from, but I guess he doesn't, or doesn't care to. He's alright with just walking away with his things with no conversation or words from the heart. This is the most painful thing out of all of this. His talks of getting a house, getting married. Why bother if you're just going to throw in the towel when me supporting us gets overwhelming? For those of you who asked why I kept this going for so long, we met when my father passed and grew close. I wanted to have him in my life. It was positive and a breath of fresh air from my former partners. He was a kind, sensitive, thoughtful, caring guy when I met him. He even, on his own volition, promised me that he wouldn't be a low-tier dude like the others. I don't know if he's on the spectrum, many of you asked. He's joked about it in the past. He's not a bad guy. I guess he really just doesn't care, and I've got to accept that and try to learn from where I went wrong in the beginning. Update 3. You know what? I painted him in a bad light. Sure, these things happen, but ultimately he's a good guy. Maybe we're just not a good fit. Perhaps I went about things the wrong way by escalating it so quickly. Perhaps I'm too quick to blame and not good at communicating in our relationship. Either way, I got the space I so desperately wanted. I appreciate all of your input today. The response was astounding. I guess the takeaway to my failed relationship is to be sure to check in with your partner, where they're at, if their needs are being met, if there's anything you can do, if you're both still on the same page. I'd be willing to bet he doesn't own that house. Maybe ask next time you see one of his tenants. Sounds more like a total leech. Not the jerk. Your boyfriend sucks. Why are you still dating him? You're being a doormat and being his mom. Stop. And no, not all men are like that. Most are wonderful and kind and do housework and communicate and aren't blank-faced when you talk to them about issues. Get you one of those men, not this one that you're raising. Most is being incredibly generous. I've met plenty of men like this. It's why I no longer date. My ex-husband's new girlfriend is accusing me of being the reason he didn't propose to her on Christmas. My ex-husband and I, both late 40s, were a real love story for 17 years. He was my world and I loved everything about him. I thought he loved me too, but about 2 years ago, for about 2 months, he was changed. The change was so palpable that I knew it in my heart there was another woman. He stopped kissing me good morning or good night, stopped asking me on dates, and always declined when I asked. He didn't doze off with his head in my lap to a movie every evening, always missing the end. Now he even sat on the other couch. He stopped saying he loved me, and he stopped texting me during the day. I didn't know what to do other than wait and see, and sure enough, after 2 months, he told me he was in love and wanted a divorce. I was heartbroken, but I couldn't do anything about it. I would never beg someone to love me, no matter how much I loved them. He moved out and started the divorce. His new girlfriend, early 30s, moved in with him not long after that. My ex-husband is very successful, and our divorce was finalized a couple of weeks ago. I haven't seen my ex-husband much since he moved out. I don't know what got into me. I've kept civil and prideful during the separation. I was surprised that he was with his lawyer because I thought he just signed and didn't need to be there. I signed, and then I looked at him for the first time in 2 years, and just without giving myself the time to stop and keep my dignity, I smiled and said that he now lost the last woman who he ever knew for sure loved him and saw him for who he was and not for his money or assets. He was also smiling at first, probably relieved that I finally was fine enough to look at him again. He complained to our son that I never looked at him anymore. His smile faltered and turned into shock, and then he started crying. I was terrified of what I did and just left almost running. I got a text from his girlfriend this morning with many insults about me, my character, and my looks and age. Because he was supposed to have proposed on Christmas with all her family present, but he didn't. He now refuses to talk about it with her or any of her family, and she means that it was my fault. I ruined their relationship. I blocked her, but I can't help but wonder if I really did ruin their relationship. I even wonder if I care. All I know is that he looked so old and pathetic. I wonder if I ever really knew him or loved him. You can't ruin something that was already broken. Let's be honest, if he was so sure of their relationship enough to end your marriage, a simple remark from you should have been brushed off. The fact that it hit him so hard means he had the doubts to begin with. My sister is having her 5th baby and expects us to be happy for her. I, female 18, have a sister, female 38, who we will call K for privacy reasons. Kay has 4 kids with her husband who are 3, 8, 2, and 11. Kay is a stay-at-home mom and her husband works in air conditioning. Kay and her husband came over with their kids on his time off to tell us something. She said that they're pregnant with their 5th baby. My mom was overjoyed and I wasn't really paying attention. I was focusing on the TV. Then my sister says, "So, what do you think about the news?" I said, "Cool, awesome." Then my sister says, "Just cool? You don't seem that excited for me." And I said, "Well, what do you want me to do? Jump up and down and scream my head off?" I could see if this was like your first kid that you were expecting, like a first-time mother moment. You already have 4 kids and you're on your 5th pregnancy. By this time, you get used to it. Was this baby like really hard to conceive? Like, was it hard for you to get pregnant? And Kay said, "No, it just happened. I took the test a week ago." And I said, "Okay then. So after a certain point, you can't expect people to be as enthusiastic as they were for your first." Kay said, "I thought you would be happy for me." And I was like, "I am, but it's not that exciting for me since you've been pregnant before." She got mad and left with her husband and kids and did not stay for dinner. My mom thinks I should apologize to Kay for not being excited about her pregnancy announcement. So Reddit, am I the jerk? Edit. I just want to clarify that this 5th baby was not a baby that was hard to conceive, or they had been trying and wanting a 5th baby. It just happened. Edit 2. I have been financially supporting her other kids, giving her money and food constantly, and babysitting her kids so that she can go out every weekend to hang out with her friends. I did not add it to my original post because that's not what I was focusing on. I wanted opinions on my reaction to the announcement, not me financially supporting her kids. I could have added that, but I couldn't go over the character limit. Sorry for the confusion. Good Lord. Why is it such a terrible burden to be happy about the things that make someone you love happy? Are only firstborn kids worth celebrating? Is a child less valuable because their mother doesn't struggle with infertility? You're not the jerk for not being overly effusive, but your speech about why this baby is no big deal to you puts you in the "you're the jerk" territory. I'm kind of shocked at how heartless most of the replies here are. I'm gonna be excited and congratulatory even if the lady at the newsstand tells me she's expecting, let alone my sister, and I don't even like kids. People on here talk about a new baby being born as if someone bought a new houseplant, for goodness sake. Even like it's an annoyance, or like the sister is irritating for expecting family to care that a new baby will be born. It's so weird to see. Guess Reddit doesn't exactly gather the most socially sound people. Why should she have to be happy? She was polite, and when mommy-to-be didn't get the attention she was angling for, she threw a tantrum and left. Kids should be loved and appreciated, absolutely. But I'm so sick of this whole culture where every pregnancy announcement has to include an entire family grinning and celebrating with a parade and confetti. Not the jerk, OP. You're fine. Why should she have to be happy? Because she loves her sister and her sister is happy. That's how relationships work. I don't know about you, but when a loved one is happy about something, it makes me happy too, whether or not I care about the thing that made them happy in the first place. Not the jerk. You're 19 and they're on their 5th kid. Who would expect a teenager to be overly joyous at this point? You told her that you were happy and that should have been enough. I don't know why people think others should be jumping through the roof at this point, especially someone your age. Yeah, you're the jerk. I get your point, but it doesn't actually matter whether you are excited or not. Your sister is excited, and it's kind to share and reflect back the excitement of those we love. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her sister? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for putting parental controls on my TV and ticking off my father-in-law? I, male 30s, live with my wife, female 30s. We have 2 kids who are 8 and 6. My wife's parents are staying with us temporarily as their home is having some serious repairs done after a freak accident. It wasn't their fault and luckily they had insurance. The repairs should be completed in 2 months from now. I don't really get along with my in-laws, especially my father-in-law, but I agreed to let them stay here because I thought that time would fly by and it wouldn't be that bad. But I'm posting here, so I guess I was wrong. My mother-in-law doesn't have a job, and my father-in-law works late shifts until around 11 p.m. When he gets home, they will watch YouTube in the living room and play music on it at a loud volume with our speaker system. It's not college house party bass tearing apart the walls loud, but it is still loud. My kids are not light sleepers, but this wakes them up, Then they come to wake me up because they're wanting me to make it stop. My kids need to be rested for school, and I need to get up in the morning to drop them off and go to work. My wife works overnight shifts, so she doesn't witness this. I've tried to talk to my in-laws about it and ask that they please keep the noise down after my kids' bedtime, which is 8:30 p.m. I don't expect complete silence, but I really don't think they need to have the TV on loud late at night. My father-in-law argued with me and said that he doesn't finish work until 11 p.m., so I'm basically expecting him to not do the things he enjoys after work. I told him he can do it before work or on his days off, or it's tough luck. He complained to my wife, who's now taking his side and saying that the kids need to learn how to sleep through a bit of everyday noise. I told her it's not everyday noise and that he and mother-in-law are being excessively noisy and inconsiderate. She's just not there to see it. My father-in-law has been sending me links to buy earplugs for the kids. I've gotten really fed up with this. It's not my in-laws' house, and they're staying with us as guests, and I think that they're being really selfish. I decided to put parental controls on the TV so that my in-laws can't use it after 8:30 p.m. until 6 a.m. the next day. Between those times, the TV can't be used without putting in the password, and only I know it. This doesn't affect my wife, as she doesn't get off work until 6 a.m. and isn't normally home until 6:20ish. My father-in-law is now incredibly upset with me and said that I'm acting like a child and he keeps pestering me, demanding the password. My wife is also mad at me for upsetting her dad. I'm just so annoyed at this whole situation and I'm sick of hearing about it, so I just want to know if I'm morally in the clear. Not the jerk. Your in-laws are rude and inconsiderate, and your wife should be managing them and backing you up in this. Had she done so, you would not need to take such drastic measures. Both you and the kids need your sleep. The in-laws are guests in your home. This is wildly inappropriate for them to be acting this way. If they don't like the house rules, they can go to a motel. Not the jerk. Who stays as a guest in someone else's home knowing that they have kids and expects them to be okay with them playing loud music all night? Even without the kids in the equation, that's still totally unreasonable. Not the jerk. Everyone needs to make an effort to make a situation like this as easy as possible for everyone involved. That means being a considerate person. It seems as though your in-laws never learned basic manners. Your kids' basic needs trump your father-in-law's wanting to watch TV at a loud volume in the middle of the night. Constantly disrupted sleep is bad for everyone, but for younger kids it's even worse. The kids shouldn't have to wear earplugs. Your in-laws could get headphones instead. So good for you for drawing a line. They seem to not understand it any other way. If they continue behaving the way that they have, they can look for another place to stay. If I don't like it, I can find another job? Okay. I worked at a small shop serving an electrical apprenticeship. Myself and the shop manager had had a few run-ins, and I assume he disliked me as much as I disliked him. I had refused to do a job and told him he didn't pay me enough. It was at the stockyards, and I was expected to put on a set of waders, crawl down into raw fat reclamation tank, and replace a submersible pump. Wasn't going to happen. Another time, he wanted me to lie to a customer to make an issue that they were having sound like it wasn't our fault. I refused and told him if he wanted me to lie about it, he was going to have to drive out to the job site and do it himself. He told me to keep my mouth shut and did come out. I think the only reason he didn't fire me was because I was by far one of the most efficient and versatile employees. This fact had me questioning how much I was getting out of this apprenticeship and was passively looking around for another job to apprentice at. My wage scale was structured, and I got regular raises, bringing me closer to journeyman's level over my time as an apprentice. So I had to find someone that would sign up to complete my apprenticeship as well as want to hire me. One of our better journeymen had gone to another shop and had introduced me to the owners. We had talked about what it would take to get me to move. Things were progressing, but nothing committed to at that point. Cue the malicious compliance. It's my evaluation and raise time. My manager calls me up to the conference room and explains that due to my performance and the shop being in a slow period, he was not going to give me the 25-cent an hour raise as my contract said, but was going to give me $1 more an hour once I became a journeyman. We argued, and I told him if I can't trust you for a quarter, why would I believe you for $1? The argument ended in him telling me, if you don't like it, you can always quit. Oh, really? I picked up the conference room phone on the table in front of us and called the shop I had been talking with. I asked the owner if I brought my own tools over today, would I have a job? After a quick and uncomfortable discussion with his partner, he said yes. I informed my manager and I resigned effective now. I loaded my tools up, punched out, and went straight to work that afternoon. My in-laws demanded that I pay for their dinner. I, female 32, recently inherited a good amount of money from my mom. I keep the money in a separate account as I still haven't decided what to do with it, and I didn't want it to go to waste. I noticed my husband constantly bringing up the inheritance money and making countless suggestions as to how I should spend it. Another thing is that he expects me to pay for nearly everything the past couple of weeks. For New Year's Eve, my husband and I met up with his family at a restaurant to celebrate. It was going fine until I found out that I was expected to pay for everyone at the table. My husband's mom joked about paying for dinner out of my inheritance pocket, which made me livid, but I showed no reaction, just silently paid for my own food and drinks. Then I got up and made my way out of the restaurant. They were shouting after me like a crowd, and my husband tried to get me to come back, but I drove home. He got back at 3 a.m., yelling at me, saying that I was pathetic to get up and walk out on him and his family after they had relied on me to pay for their food and thought I was gracious enough to do it, but they were wrong. He said I humiliated him and his family and that what I did was an attempt to get back at them for not being able to help mom when she was sick. Not true is all I'm gonna say. He's mad and is saying that I caused a huge rift between his family and me when it wouldn't have hurt me to pay for the celebratory dinner. Am I the jerk? So let me get this straight. Your mother passed after an illness, and the thing your in-laws take from this is, great, now she can pay for everything. Yeah, not the jerk. Not the jerk. I'd tell your husband you'd much rather have your mother around than the money, but him and his family trying to blindside you into spending it on them is disgusting. That you plan on taking your time to decide what you want to do with that money and don't want anything like this to occur again. A divorce attorney may be a wise investment since hubby showed his true colors. Instead of suggesting they spend the money on buying a house or rental property or put away for retirement, he wants her to blow the money away ever since she got it. Good for her keeping it separate. Talk to a financial advisor and maybe a divorce or probate attorney so that the inheritance is properly kept as a separate asset and not commingled into marital property. Am I the jerk for taking away my daughter's gifts because she didn't spend Christmas with us? My daughter, Leia, her mother and I were never married, but we did officially separate when she was 5. I got with my wife, Naya, back when Leia was 9, and I married Naya when Leia was 12. Leia never really got on with Naya, didn't want to spend time with her, and was just generally unpleasant to her. We're currently in family therapy, and honestly, I think Leia just says the meanest things possible to avoid actually discussing her feelings with us. She's absolutely amazing to hang around with one-on-one, but is unpleasant around Naya. We were all supposed to spend Christmas together, as per our custody agreement. Leia is 16 now, and we have been more lenient, but we have always adhered to our agreement for holidays and birthdays. On Christmas Eve, Leia left to see her boyfriend's family and drop off her gifts. At around 6, I call her and ask her when she's heading home. She says that she's staying there. I know her mom lives near her boyfriend, and I asked if that's where she was going. She didn't answer. I told her to come home, and she pretty much agreed, but never did. I then called her boyfriend's parents, and they confirmed she left to her mother's, and I called her mother, who said Leia was there. Naya was heartbroken because she felt like Leia didn't want to be there because of her. This year, Naya handled all the gifts. She did the work of going to the stores and picking them out. I decided my daughter wasn't allowed to treat Naya like this and had to at least be civil with her. So when Leia got home, I asked why she wasn't at Christmas. She said she wanted to spend it with her real mom. I said that's fine. When she asked about her gifts, I said her fake mom got it for her, so she doesn't need them. Needless to say, she's upset with me and hasn't said anything since. Naya appreciates me putting my foot down, but she feels like Leia is a lost cause and to just give her the gifts. Leia's mom agrees she needs to stop treating Naya badly and expecting no consequences. Am I the jerk? Note, she has the gifts her mom and boyfriend and other family got her, just not the ones that Naya got her. I got her a car for Christmas, gifted it to her in November because she needed it. Leia is an only child on both sides. I have no other kids and I don't plan to. I'm fine with having a relationship with Leia outside of Naya, My issue is she treats Naya badly, like subhuman. She acts outright nasty to her. I wouldn't push so hard if she could at least be civil. Probably an unpopular opinion, but not the jerk. My parents split when I was 10. I never really liked my new stepmom, but I was at least polite to her, despite making it clear that I'd never have a real relationship with her. We don't buy each other gifts for Christmas or hang out in any way, but we can coexist around each other. So long as Naya hasn't done anything specific to upset Leia or done anything nasty to her because of this, which I will assume isn't the case because you didn't mention it, then Leia needs to learn how to be polite and civil without having a relationship. Unlike others have said, no, you don't need to pick between having a relationship with your daughter or just accepting this. Am I the jerk for telling my mom she can't discard me and her grandkids and expect me to invite her over for Christmas? My mom was a single mom to me until I, 28 male, was 7. She then met my stepdad, Joe, and married him. Joe had been divorced for 3 years and had 2 kids who were 6 and 4 at the time. Joe's relationship with his ex-wife was hostile, possibly the most hostile I've ever witnessed even to this day. Joe's ex decided her and Joe's kids should never treat my mom with respect, and she had them treating my mom like she was the other woman. I was upset for my mom at the time, and she told me they would grow up and realize what their mom had done and they would come around, at least to the point of being civil. I think at some point my mom saw her stepkids as a challenge she needed to win. She went out of her way to win them over, and there were many times it came at my expense. The worse they treated her, the more she focused on them and forgot she had an actual son who loved and needed her. Joe was fine, but he worked a lot, so I felt abandoned by my mom, and I felt like my mom wouldn't even notice if I was gone. When Joe's kids were teenagers, their mom passed and they moved in with us permanently. Before this, they were at our house every other week. Them moving in was horrible. They would yell at my mom on a daily basis. They would tell her they wish it had been her instead of their mom who had passed. They called her all sorts of horrible names. They spread a rumor around high school that mom had cheated on Joe. Joe had his kids in therapy. He had talks with them, issued consequences for their mistreatment of my mom. But at no point did it stop, and equally, at no point my mom gave up. When I moved out for college, it became clear to me that mom was going to stay more concerned with her stepkids than with me. She was disinterested when I introduced her to my wife. We met in college. She really didn't take much of an interest in our wedding planning. She was busy trying to get Joe's kids to see her because once they moved out, they told Joe that they would only see him alone. Once or twice, his kids asked my mom for money, and that kept her holding on. When my wife and I had our first baby is when I gave up. My mom showed zero interest and didn't make any effort to meet my daughter for weeks, and when she did meet her, there was still zero interest. Joe went to his kids for Christmas this year and left my mom home. Mom sent me a text saying this, and I ignored it. 2 days ago, she left a voice message saying I should have invited her to my house for Christmas so she wasn't alone and could be with her son and grandkids. I called her right back, and I told her she can't discard us and then expect me to invite her to Christmas. I told her she would rather chase people who don't even care about her than her own son who loves her, so she can buzz off and leave me alone and stop trying to make us her consolation prize. Mom claimed I was cruel and out of line with how I treated her. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Try asking her, Mom, if Joe and his kids had asked you to be with them for Christmas, we both know you wouldn't even be thinking of spending time with me and my wife and your grandkids. You want your stepkids, you don't want me. She wants to be with Joe. Fair play, he's her husband. She wants to be with his kids rather than with you. That's so hurtful. You say you love her. It's possible that family therapy might work, you and your mom. It's more possible that your mom needs therapy. But it seems clear that so long as she's focused on the most important thing in her life being her stepkids liking her, she'll never have enough time for you. My boyfriend chooses his mother over me. I, 30 female, and my boyfriend, 36 male, have been dating for 8 years now. For context, he was raised by a single mother who's 70 and healthy, and she had 7 kids. She doesn't like any of her kids' partners. My partner is the youngest. My boyfriend and I often spoke about the impact the absence of his father had on him. He told me he wants to be around to raise his future kids. I was raised in a 2-parent household, and I wanted the same for our future kids. We had many discussions and were on the same page about everything. We agreed that we would live together in 4 years, 2019. In 2019, he purchased a building with 5 units. His brother and his family live in one, wife and 3 kids. My boyfriend and his mother live in one, and he rents out the other 2. When my boyfriend bought his building, he told me he wanted to give his mother a unit and for me to move in with him. I told him that was very sweet and I was on board with it. He said he wanted 2 years to fix up her unit, then she would move out and I would move in 2021. I already own a home, so the plan was always to move in with him and rent out my house. 2 years ago, I got pregnant, 2021, and this made his mother upset. She said that she wanted nothing to do with me or the baby. She made it very clear that she was never going to move out. She told me she is the queen of the house and I would be the queen when she passes. I was furious and asked her how she could say such hateful things. My boyfriend spoke to her and they had an argument. He told me he would not force her to move out. I reminded him that his plan was to always put her in her own unit, which is in the same building. He said she was not interested. I suggested that he move in with me, and he said no, he didn't want to live in my city. He said that I should just move in with them. I refused. Why would I want to live with someone who doesn't even like me? I asked why he wanted to raise his daughter in a broken home. His mother told me I better get used to being a single mother. She said I only have one, so it won't be that difficult. I live in a different city from my boyfriend. We live an hour away from each other. When our daughter was born, he spent the first 4 weeks at my house. Every day he would go home to do something for his mother. This really annoyed me. His mother does not have any ailments and is able to do things for herself. I suggested that he ask his brother to do whatever needs to be done. He told me it wouldn't be possible as his brother is very busy with his family. When I asked him why he had to go home every day, he said his mother needed him because she was feeling lonely. I asked him when he thinks he'll cut the umbilical cord. This really struck a nerve. His mother got sick during lockdown and I nursed her back to health. I thought this was the turning point for us. However, once she got better, she became even more mean towards me. She told me she didn't like me and never will. I asked her if I did something to her. She told me I hadn't done anything and she just doesn't like me. I spoke to my boyfriend about it and he told me she never likes anyone that he dates. He told me all of his past relationships have ended because of his mother. She was mean to all of his past partners and basically ran them away. He knows he needs to set more boundaries. He said he feels guilty because she was a single mom who took care of him, so now it's his turn to take care of her. I told him that he should prioritize the family that we are building. I asked him when he thinks he will be ready to live his life, and he said whenever she passes. I told him since he's choosing his mother over his family, remember to choose her after she's gone as well. I will not wait for his mother to pass to live my life. Am I the jerk? I think I know why your boyfriend's dad ran away. Not the jerk. I'm shocked that you went through an entire pregnancy and nothing changed. He couldn't have freed up a unit for you and the baby? If he didn't make a single accommodation for his family at that point, he never will. This dude is messed up. I'm Latter-day Saints. I don't need to sign your registration agreement. Been working at a Western hotel chain, locally owned since August of this year. It's my first time ever working the front desk, but I caught on quickly and it's become my favorite job I've ever had. We have the largest Latter-day Saints population. I found out upon moving from out of state. I encounter the occasional rude guest who is usually just upset they booked through a third party and were unaware of our incidental fees, etc. Most guests are understanding, polite, and I even have great relationships with the regulars. Incoming an older lady who we will call Mary, approximately 75 years old and single, who began staying with us in August when I began. She was in for medical treatment at the nearby hospital. She started off so sweet and kind. We gave her our courtesy 15% off medical rate and did not charge her any incidental fees or cleaning fees upon leaving. She repeatedly could not walk as she's had operations on her legs and would bleed onto our sheets. She would always extend via telephone, which hotel policy now no longer permits. We would authorize her card and go on about the day. We even began giving her a special rate between $89 and $99 a night. She was old and confused. Well, who knew special treatment would lead to such entitlement? On December 12th, she was due to check out and a coworker extended her over the phone without a credit card reauthorization or signing a new registration card. The extension was done backwards, which led to the ensuing issues after. That night, 2 coworkers, P and L, went to her room as she asked for towels and trash to be taken out. They figured they would bring the new registration card to her door since she can't walk far. She began yelling adamantly that, "I'm LDS. I don't need to sign this. I've already signed one. P&L explained that in our most recent meeting, our manager made it clear how important having guests sign updated registration cards and credit card authorizations were. She kept refusing, so they left. She then called the front desk, where Elle picked up, and she began ranting as to how rude the people were she just spoke with. No signed card plus no reauthorization equals no room. The next day I hear about this, so I decide I'll call her. Maybe I can get her to sign it. She knows me well and we've had good conversations. She's told me how sweet and hardworking I am. So I dial her room. No answer. Oh well. Then she calls back. Karen. Did I miss a call? Me. Yes, ma'am. This is OP at the front desk. I noticed you haven't signed your new registration card since extending. I could bring it to your room and have you sign it. That way you don't have to come all the way down here. I already told your people. I'm not signing anything. Me. Oh, well, unfortunately, it's hotel policy for guests to sign new registration cards upon extension. I told you people, I already signed one, and I'm not signing it again. I am LDS. I don't smoke, drink, or party. You shouldn't be worrying about me, and instead worry about the people who do those things. Me. Well, ma'am, those who don't follow hotel policy are fined accordingly. I will need you to sign the card, though. I am LDS. Don't you understand? I don't smoke or… Me. Well, if you don't smoke, then you should have no issue signing it then, right? Karen. Is the assistant manager in today? I'm gonna have a talk with her. Me. Of course. She'll be in contact shortly. I hang up. I call assistant manager and personally explain the situation, and she says she will go by her room personally to have a talk. I did my job and it's out of my hands at this point. Until 30 minutes later, Karen marches to my desk and says, I'm checking out. I've been hounded for 2 days by you people. What's your name? I'm OP. You. I've never had someone speak to me so rudely and treat me with such disrespect. I already told you I signed the card. Yes, ma'am. You signed it for your initial stay, but you must sign a new and updated one upon extension. They never had me do that before. Me. Well, I'm sorry. Whoever you dealt with was not doing their job properly. But this is the hotel's policy. Don't tell me about policy, young lady. I know my rights. I'm LDS. I don't drink or smoke, so I shouldn't have to sign. I've given you so much business, and for you to accuse me of this is ridiculous. I've given you so much money. Me. And we have lost a lot of money too with all of your special treatment and unwarranted discounts. Just check me out. I can see she has 3 different cards on file, but none with reauthorization. So, Karen, I don't have authorization on any of your cards here. She interrupts me. Oh, you're a liar. You're lying to me. You're full of tricks, aren't you? Well, ma'am, I don't know which card to charge because there's no authorization. There are 3 cards listed here. We can authorize whichever card you have now and I'll charge it, then you can leave. She puts a card in the machine. Ma'am, I do need to see your ID and match your name to the card before we authorize. Why are you lying to me? No, this is standard policy. You don't need to see anything. Just run the card. I decide to call my manager in front of her and say, Hi, Karen is wanting to check out early, but I have no authorization on any card, so I don't know which one to charge. She also refuses to show me her ID to match the card. Could I please get some help? Then comes our sales manager, Jay, whom she actually likes. Thank God you're here. This lady right here, points her card at me, has a real problem. There's something wrong in her head. I don't even know how she has a job here. She's been lying to me and telling me I need to sign something I've already signed. I'm LDS, honey. I don't smoke or drink. I don't need to sign anything. I hate to leave, but I'm sure there are other hotels who would love to give me a discount. Jay. Yes, ma'am. Well, the registration doesn't just mention smoking. It also says, Honey, don't tell me. I already know. Just check me out. She complies with Jay's request, and she continues shaking her finger at me, calling me a liar and a trickster. I began helping a different guest who came to check in, and I see Karen begin walking out the door. As she leaves, I yell, Hey Karen, you have a blessed rest of your day, and she glared at me with so much malice. I then ran to the bathroom and cried. I couldn't believe I just had an encounter like that. I try so hard to be kind, but some people are just not worth it. My managers then hugged me and told me that I did nothing wrong, and we added her to our do not rent list. Thank God we won't have to deal with this delusional old lady again. Maybe there's a reason she's all alone in a hotel room instead of having kids, family, or friends to take care of her after medical treatment. Maybe you're not that great of a person if you have to proclaim how good you are because you're LDS. Student assignment to get Instagram followers. My daughter is a freshman in high school. As an elective, she has an enterprise class. It's part of the FBLA classes and should be an easy A. They run the school store and make the school shirts and merch to raise money for FBLA. The teacher is an overweight ex-college football player and assistant high school football coach. He thinks he's pretty high and mighty, but is always unshaven and looks like he's been wearing the same clothes for days. Most of the assignments were easy things, like if they learned to run the computer for making shirts, cash register, money handling, and easy things we expected. My daughter has had straight A's her entire life, but this guy grades assignments by the class, not the student. So if a couple of kids mess up, the whole class has a lower grade, which sucks for the kids trying to keep their grades high. 2 weeks before the end of semester, the teacher hadn't entered any grades since September. Even though the kids had no type of lessons or previously covered subject, their final grade was to get the school FBLA Instagram 300 new followers. Pass or fail as the group grade for all 3 periods of students that he taught the class. It was totally out of left field as they hadn't learned anything about social media in the class, and my daughter risked failing her final based off of the performance of a bunch of other kids. I looked at the school's Instagram account, and it's been active for 5 years, but only had 300 followers. Yet, they were expected to double it in 2 weeks' time. I waited to see if he was being serious or not. It came down to deadline of when they were supposed to have gained the followers, and they'd only gotten about 20. So I spent $6, and I bought them 500 followers just to prove a point that it was a crap assignment and could easily be cheated. In 30 minutes, they had over 800 new followers that were obviously fake accounts. They had no posts and barely even had a profile pic. The teacher came to class and said that since they didn't have the followers, he was giving them a B. He admitted that he hadn't even checked how many they had gotten. He was just automatically giving them a B. The kids got mad and showed him that they'd gotten it so high. The teacher didn't question it and was totally caught off guard. He was so happy, he gave them 110 on all 3 class period final grades. So it turns out that I spent $6 just to be a smarty pants, but I got about 70 of them 110 scores on their class final. Am I the jerk for opening a fake gift during a Christmas family party? Every year, my family does Christmas at my mom's, and she insists that we all open all of our presents together, even gifts between spouses, etc. It's normally an okay tradition, but sometimes it can spark jealousy or comparison between families. This year, my husband saved up and bought me my dream designer handbag for Christmas. I know some people aren't into that, but it's something that I truly love. We're not well off, but we're not doing poorly either. But I know that the handbag would cause a lot of discussion amongst my siblings and parents. I just didn't want their opinions and criticisms to ruin a special gift my husband worked hard to get for me. So this year, my husband got me an extra gift that wasn't the real gift. It was a moderately priced skincare set. Christmas came and went without drama, but I recently posted a picture of my husband and our kids at dinner, and my handbag could be seen hanging off the back of my chair. One of my friends commented underneath about how gorgeous my Christmas gift was as well. Long story short, word got back to my family and they totally blew up. Some were annoyed that I opened a private gift separately from the family. Others were criticizing the price of the gift. My siblings are now calling me disingenuous for harboring a secret gift, and they said that I did it because I think I'm better than them. I didn't open it with them because I didn't want their opinions, but now I'm starting to feel like a jerk for keeping it a secret. I knew either way they'd all criticize me since it was so much more expensive than all the other gifts, so I don't know whether or not I'm wrong. Not the jerk. And honestly, it's time for you to be 100% bluntly honest with them. Screen cap all their snarky comments and send a group chat with them stating this. If you all want to know so badly why I harbored a secret gift, as you call it, these types of comments are exactly why. This bag is not something I thought I would ever have, as we are not well off enough to make purchases similar in cost to this bag. But my husband worked so hard and saved up to get it for me, and instead of being happy for us, you're talking smack. You call it a waste of money or claim that I think I'm better than you. The behavior all of you have around Christmas gifts sucks the joy out of even getting something like this, and had I opened it at mom's house in front of all of you, I wouldn't even have been able to be happy about it because I know that you all would react exactly as you did. Honestly, I'm not sure if my family and I will be continuing to take part in this tradition because we're tired of the jealousy, the comparisons, and the competition. It's tiring. It makes it hard to be happy with the gifts we get, even if we would be ecstatic to get them, as I was with this bag when he gave it to me. My cousin blames me for her being single and broke. I, 25 female, recently got engaged a few months back, and my fiance, Carter, 26 male, and I are deep in the wedding planning stages. We were both at a family dinner party this past weekend when people asked us how the wedding planning was going, particularly my cousin, Danny, who's 32 female. Carter and I have been very fortunate enough to be in a situation where we can plan our dream wedding and are able to pay the majority of it ourselves with a little help from our parents. When we went into the details of how we want it to be a big wedding to invite a lot of friends and family we haven't seen in years due to lockdown, Danny immediately made comments about how we're spending twice her income for one day no one else cares about, and many other disrespectful comments throughout the night about our plans. For some context, Danny was pursuing a college degree that was completely financed by my parents as her mother could not afford it. But in her last year, she was expelled due to getting caught plagiarizing on a draft of her thesis. She hid this from my parents for a whole year, but still continued to accept their monthly checks that were meant to be for her tuition, and instead pocketed the money, around $30,000. This basically has limited her opportunities in the job market as she never graduated, and her then boyfriend left her a year ago after he discovered what she had been doing, and he didn't want to be with someone that had been lying about their degree and income. After her initial comment, she then went on to say how if my fiance and I are able to spend all this money on our wedding, we could put the money to better use by helping her out instead, as she wants to pursue community college courses to finish her degree. I said absolutely not, and this caused a huge argument because she kept saying how it's not fair that I'm rubbing it in about how I get the fancy wedding and fancy fiance, and she's struggling to pay her bills after her ex kicked her out. I do sympathize with her situation, but she literally cheated, got kicked out of a school as a consequence, proceeded to lie and steal $30,000 from my parents, and then lost her boyfriend for hiding all this from him for 2 years. The reason Danny is in this situation is her own fault, and I told her this exactly in front of everyone at dinner. Now our grandmother is calling me nonstop, saying how I'm being selfish and inconsiderate when my cousin is clearly going through a really hard stage in her life, and family doesn't humiliate one another. Basically, she now is siding with my cousin, saying maybe I could scale down my wedding a bit to not rub it in her face. It's kind of always been like this with my grandmother growing up because Danny is the firstborn grandchild that came after many issues and was always favored over my siblings and I. So, am I the jerk? Or I guess more realistically, was I being a bad person for the way I responded to Danny? Not the jerk. Danny is an adult and more than responsible for facing the consequences of her own actions. She very well could have not cheated, on a thesis might I add, and finished her degree. Then she wouldn't be broke, and she didn't have to lie to her boyfriend about the situation. But she did, and that's why she's single. You're completely right. It's her own fault, and she needs a wake-up call. If Grandma cares about Danny so much, why doesn't she pay for her community college payments then? Do yourself a favor and uninvite both Danny and your grandmother from your wedding. You're doing nothing wrong, and you deserve to enjoy this event however you and your fiancé choose to do so. Not the jerk. You didn't actually do much here. You answered questions about your wedding plans and said no when your cousin asked you to pay her tuition. Even without the history between your cousin and your parents, you're not the jerk. How you spend your money is your business. It might have been slightly different if you'd gloated about your financial situation or mocked your cousin about hers, but you didn't. From what you wrote versus your grandmother's reaction, your cousin is likely telling her a very twisted version of the story. Am I the jerk for not defending my boyfriend when my brother asked him to leave? I'm 28, female. My boyfriend, 27, male, is Ryan. He likes to help others. He's the type of guy who would give a coworker money for their rent or buy groceries for our neighbor. However, he can take it too far at times. He often tries to help people without asking if they need or want his help. Every year, my brother, 35, male, Paul, and his wife, 33, female, Lily, host a holiday dinner. This year, Ryan attended for the first time. Before we left for their house, I told Ryan that Lily was legally blind and she has been for her entire life. She knew what she could and could not do. I told Ryan to only help Lily if she asked for help. We arrived early so I could help Paul and Lily cook. While we were cooking, Ryan kept telling Lily things like, "Lily, if you're looking for the salt, it's to your right." Or, "Lily, don't put that there, it's too close to the edge." Lily and Paul both told him that while his commentary was somewhat helpful, it was completely unnecessary. Still, Ryan did not stop. However, things became tense when Lily went to go chop vegetables. When she pulled out a knife, Ryan stopped her and asked if he could take over because he didn't want Lily to hurt herself. Lily said she'd be fine, but Ryan insisted she give him the knife. Finally, Paul got annoyed and told Ryan to stop. Ryan did stop, but he kept hovering over Lily when she was chopping. I asked Ryan to sit down until dinner was ready, but Ryan insisted that he just wanted to help. Finally, Lily asked us to set the table and greet people arriving. We did, but things were still tense. I did pull Ryan to the side and reminded him again to only help Lily if she asked for it. He agreed, but I could tell that he was still upset. Everything finally boiled over after dinner. My nieces, who are 5 and 3, have a game they love to play with their mother. They will hand Lily something, and Lily will have to guess what it is. Lily would sometimes make a couple of clearly outrageous guesses, like saying an egg is an elephant or a shoe, to make her daughters laugh. After dinner, the eldest handed Lily the salt shaker. When Lily guessed that it was a phone, Ryan piped up and said it was a salt shaker. Lily laughed it off and explained the game to Ryan, but I could see she was annoyed. My niece then handed Lily a coin. When Lily guessed incorrectly, Ryan loudly told Lily that it was a coin. This was apparently the last straw for Paul. Paul demanded that Ryan leave since he clearly couldn't respect Lily. Ryan insisted that he was trying to be helpful. However, Lily said it was probably best if Ryan and I left. I quickly gathered up our things and managed to convince Ryan to leave. Ryan is currently upset with me. He said I should have defended him, especially since I knew he was only being helpful. He also insisted that I should have stood up against Paul's overreaction, Ryan's words. I'm now wondering if I should have defended Ryan. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Ryan didn't deserve to be defended there. I'm sorry, I'm sure you love Ryan, but good lord, he sounds insufferable. He wasn't being nice, he was being patronizing. Lily neither wanted nor needed his help. He stuck his nose where it didn't belong, and he was asked to stop numerous times. I would have kicked him out too. It doesn't sound like he wants to be helpful. It sounds like he wants to be the benevolent yet superior being. He wants to feel the gratitude of the lesser masses. He can't handle being around a capable person who won't accept his magnanimity. Your boyfriend is very condescending. Not the jerk for not defending him, but maybe you should have told him to back off yourself more firmly. Young firefighter disrespects a lieutenant, so I shame him and get him to quit. I got revenge on this jerk I used to volunteer firefight with. This was in the early to mid-2000s. I decided to join the local fire department as a volunteer firefighter. I did it for about 5 years and it was great. Training consisted of 3 months of fire training, 2 nights a week, and all-day Saturday, and then you would go to EMT training, another 3 months of training. I was about a year in and I was asked to help train some new recruits. One of the lieutenants, Amy, was a short, middle-aged woman who was so full of fire she could make a grown man cry. One of those people who commands both fear and respect wherever she went. Honestly, a great lieutenant and a great person. When she wasn't being a drill sergeant, she was extremely kind and generous. She would often bake people cakes and treats and deliver them to the various stations in our department. However, in this new academy class that I was asked to help with, there was a jerk kid that we will call Aaron. Aaron talked big during the training and acted like he was the all-American hero, like he was going to be the leader in backdraft too. He performed moderately well in training, but far from the top of the class. He gets assigned to Amy's station, which is a pretty quiet station in the department. A few months after he starts, Amy swings by my station one night to say hi. She brings us the motherlode cake from Claim Jumper, massive 6-layer cake. She explained that she had treated her crew to a night out at Claim Jumper, which must have cost a lot of money. I think she took out 8 people and bought a whole cake to top it all off. They had eaten the first 2 layers, so she gave us the remaining 4. We thanked her profusely and she left. Back then, the big social media platform was MySpace, and I decided to look up some of the people in her department to make friends. I came across Aaron's page and I noticed some photos of him and the rest of his crew at Claim Jumper with Amy. However, when I read the comments, he bragged about how he had purposefully ordered the most expensive dinner, appetizers, and drinks since Amy was buying. He bragged about how he was going to take advantage of her stupidity. This alone ticked me off because she was being super nice by doing this and generous. What an ungrateful, selfish jerk. Then I read the rest of his profile. He had videos and memes on his page glorifying himself as a superstar firefighter, bragging about running into burning buildings and how he was such a hero. He was flirting with girls, blatantly trying to impress them with how brave he is. Bear in mind, he just graduated from the academy 3 months prior and hadn't even gone to EMT school. He had never been to a house fire, and all he basically did was carry gear for the other fully qualified firefighters. It was too much for me to tolerate. So here's the revenge. I printed off copies of his MySpace page, including his comments about Amy and toxic bragging. I made multiple copies and took them to every station in the department. We all had pagers and a small keyboard at each station to send out text messages. I made an anonymous, all-staff page to everyone in the department. I had to keep it brief since I couldn't fit a ton of characters, but I sent out his MySpace info and told everyone about how he had treated Amy. Within an hour, Aaron had cleaned out his MySpace page of all the posts, photos, etc. A couple of days later, he deleted his account. It's a good thing I had made so many copies. Immediately after this happened, he stopped coming to volunteer, and a few weeks later, I heard that he had quit. I later talked to Amy and admitted I was the one who sent the page. I told her I hated how he treated her and she thanked me. She seemed really sad and hurt by what he had done, but being the tough, short lady that she was, she quickly got back into being an actual tough firefighter. She later started dating and married a fire chief that also helped out at the academy. I've lost touch with her, but I hope she did well. She seemed happy last time I saw her. Owner steals the tip I left from my favorite waitress. I go to a local lunch spot a few times a week, and I'm waited on by the same young woman every time I eat there. She's always very polite, and she knows I have limited time, so she lets me leave cash on the table for my bill rather than stand in line at the register. I always leave her the change, probably about $6 on a $14 tab. Last week, I dropped off a Christmas card for her, and I tucked a $100 bill in the card, thanking her for her service throughout the year. She wasn't there, so I left the sealed card with the owner. Yesterday, I went for lunch, and my favorite waitress was there. As soon as she saw me, she smiled and thanked me for my Christmas card and the $20 I gave her. I was sort of shook. I said, "I left you $100. That's when she told me that the owner had opened her card, and since all tips are shared by the staff, he gave everyone a share. When I found this out, I was floored. This meant the guy had opened a sealed card that I delivered. He took the $100 out and put $20 back into her card. As I was leaving, I saw the guy coming out of the back, and I asked to speak with him. He came over, and I told him I didn't appreciate him opening something private that I had left for the waitress, and that he either owed me $80 or her. He started explaining that all tips are shared, but I cut him off. You do not open a sealed card with someone else's name on it. If I had known that was going to happen, I would have never have left it with the owner. He told me that he knew there was probably money in it, and he wanted it to be fair to everyone who worked for him. So I asked a guy behind the counter, "Did you get $20 from this guy?" The dude didn't answer, but when the owner looked away, the dude shook his head very quickly. I yelled back into the kitchen, "Hey, did any of you get $20 from this guy last week?" Lots of confused looks. The owner tried to comp my tuna sandwich, then got angry at me for causing a scene. He threatened to call the cops and told me to never return to his diner again. I left, but I told the waitress I would be back around today at noon to give her the $80. She insisted that she didn't want it, but I'm making sure she gets it. I have to ask, is there anything I can do here? I feel like he literally stole from one of his employees. Update. Thank you for the feedback. I won't leave a bad review just because there are people who work there and the food is good. I met my waitress at lunch across the street and tried to give her $80, but she told me the owner gave it back to her before she finished her shift. What a great person. She wouldn't take it even after I said she could have it. To the poster who said I should never have given the card to someone other than the waitress, you're spot on, mate. Lesson learned. Karen employee judges me by my clothes, misses out on huge sales commission. I don't typically buy a lot of designer clothing, but when I do go shopping, I dress pretty casually. Last week, I was strolling through the mall and there was a designer backpack on display that caught my attention. I went inside the store, wearing a hoodie and ripped jeans, and I went to inquire about the price of the backpack. I waited around for 10 minutes for someone to help me until I decided to go up to one of the sales representatives myself. She told me to wait because she was helping another customer, so I sat down and waited. I saw her in the corner of the store just standing, not doing anything. I decided to wait another 5 minutes for her to come help me, but she never did. I walked back up to her and I told her I wanted to ask about the backpack. I asked her if she could bring one from the back room so I could take a closer look at it. She told me that she wouldn't be able to do that unless I was planning on purchasing it. She seemed annoyed with my request. Before I could say anything else, she quickly walked away to help another customer. I'm quite young, 25 female, and I could tell that she didn't think I was serious about purchasing it, and she didn't want to waste her time. I would have actually purchased it then and there if she hadn't been so dismissive. A few days later, I went back into the store. This time, I made sure to dress even more casually than before. I walked in with a pair of sweatpants, running shoes, a tank top, and a zip-up. The same lady was working that day and turned her back to me as soon as I walked in. I went up to one of the other sales representatives. This guy was younger, smiling, and seemed eager to help me, and I told him that I wanted to purchase the backpack, and he gladly went inside and got one for me. He even asked me if I'd like to take a look at it before buying. I thanked him, and he checked me out. The store manager was also by the cashier, and I let him know that I came in last week and that this lady wouldn't even let me see the product before purchasing it. He was upset to hear this, and he told me this wasn't the first time he had got a complaint about her. The item was a few grand, and all of the commission went towards the junior. He was so kind and grateful. She avoided eye contact with me after she got told off by her manager, and I smiled at her as I walked out of the door. Lesson: don't judge a book by its cover. I'm supposed to fly home for Christmas in a few days, and the family staying at my house is now saying they aren't leaving. At the start of October, a good friend of mine asked if I'd be willing to let some friends of his wife stay at my house for a month or so while I wasn't there. I split time between the US and Ireland. I had only met these people once at a party a few years ago. This friend doesn't ask for favors very often, and there was a family in need, so I was happy to help. They were supposed to be gone by December 3rd, but whatever they had lined up never happened. They're now saying they had nowhere to go and they won't be leaving. I've arranged to stay with a family member for a couple of weeks over Christmas, but I'm fuming. You try to do the right thing and you get done over. My friend is mortified and extremely apologetic, but I understand that it's not his fault. I've already put in a call to my solicitor, so I don't need advice. I'm just ranting. Update: I heard back from the solicitor, and in short, I'm done for. He said while I am legally entitled to physically remove them from the property if needed, doing so a day or two before Christmas is a really bad idea. The optics won't be good for me if videos, etc. get posted online, especially if the police show up. He basically said it will boil down to whatever police show up and what they decide on the day. If I physically remove them from the property, I'm almost guaranteed that some form of legal action will be taken against me, and while it likely won't go anywhere, I'll be paying thousands in legal fees to get it sorted. His advice for now is to see what happens when my friend talks to them tomorrow, and if necessary, offer them a few thousand in cash to leave peacefully. I'll try and post another update tomorrow, but I can't respond because this stress is becoming too much. Update: they're going to leave the house and stay in an Airbnb or hotel for a few days because both parents work in Dublin, and stay with a family member over Christmas who doesn't live in Dublin. My friend and his wife had a talk to them, and they're going to leave by tomorrow at noon, and she's going to assist them with moving to make sure they leave. Basically, when they couldn't find a place to live, they panicked and stuck their head in the sand, and they were stressed about being homeless for Christmas. They're extremely apologetic for the stress and for all the troubles that they've caused. They seem to be genuinely good people who just didn't know what to do and got overwhelmed. To answer some of the questions people asked, no, they weren't paying any rent or utilities. That was purposeful on my part to avoid the type of situation I'm in now. Basically, they're guests and non-paying guests. This is a small part of why this whole situation was so upsetting. I not only gave them a place to live, but also paid all of the utilities for the 2 months they've been here. There was no lease and nothing signed. I didn't even meet them face to face. I've had one video call with them about where to find things in the house. Other than that, all communication with them has been via text and email. While many will call me stupid for this, they've known my friends for over 20 years. They're a family, and they have 3 kids who are under the age of 10. I know a lot of people were recommending using some muscle and threats to get them out, but I'm not comfortable doing that to a family. If they didn't have any kids, I would have had people remove them yesterday. I also want to enjoy Christmas and have my kids enjoy it. For that reason, moving into the house while there's lots of tension, etc., and attempts to upset them was never an option to me. The solicitor did tell me I could legally remove them, but also warned me that it might not go well. As for those who think I should fall out with my friends over this, no, it's not their fault, and they never dreamed that this fiasco would occur. They're beyond embarrassed that this whole situation came about, all because they asked for a favor. I only asked my sister about staying with her as a backup. I was panicked yesterday and wanted to ensure we had a place to stay if worse came to worst. I've changed my own flight home to arrive a day earlier than planned to make sure that they're gone and the house is in good order before my wife and kids arrive. The saddest part here is that if this family had talked to me about this properly and hadn't caused all this hassle, I most likely would have let them stay over the holidays. There's a huge second room in the house that has a toilet and a shower attached. It's about 55 square meters, and I would have let them stay there and use the kitchen or laundry as needed. I don't have the patience or goodwill to extend that offer anymore in light of everything that's happened. Am I the jerk for laughing at a customer? I work at an animal shelter, and I had a customer come in who I remembered from a few weeks ago. A man who had adopted this cat named Nelson. I remember this because Nelson was one of the few cats we listed as sensitive, so we know to keep them in a private room where they won't be bothered by crazy younger cats, because he came from a home where there were issues. Due to this, he's extremely skittish and he can misbehave on occasion. The man came in with Nelson in the carrier and came to the front desk asking to talk to our manager and that he had a complaint. I asked him what the complaint was, but he insisted he wanted to talk to the manager, Alan, who helped him pick Nelson out. It takes me a few minutes to find Alan because we're all generally all over the place here, and when we come back, Alan asks the guy what the issue is. Is the cat sick, or did it hurt you, etc.? General things we ask people who roll up trying to return a pet. In most cases, we can work it out and make sure the animal doesn't have to be returned. I stuck around because I wanted to hear what this guy was trying to return the cat for because I'm nosy. He said, "He refuses to listen to any order I give him." Alan and I were a bit puzzled and asked what he meant. Alan said, "Well, we don't have his full training history, but most cats know the general word no because of the tone behind it. Have you tried?" The guy cut him off and said, "He's choosing not to listen to me. I told him the rules when we got home, and he's ignored every single one." The guy went on a rant saying how the cat was told to use a litter box, but he goes on the floor multiple times. How he told the cat to not go into the spare room, but he still does, and so on. Right then it clicked to me. This guy thinks the cat understands what he's saying. I asked him, "Wait, do you think the cat can understand you? Like, he understands the words you say to him?" The man tilted his head at me and looked at me like I was an idiot and said, "He's choosing not to. That's the issue." I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing so hard I almost teared up. That's just never anything I've ever heard of. Someone genuinely thinking animals can understand what a human was saying like they were also human. Long story short, I was told to leave the room by Alan, who figured out the issue, and I did kind of feel like a jerk after, because I guess the guy had never had a pet before and hadn't really been around animals other than a few well-trained dogs, and he legit thought animals could understand you. My boss wasn't mad at me at all, but told me I acted very unprofessional, which I do agree to some extent. I don't think I was a jerk, but I know I maybe should have not laughed so hard. I was on kennel duty the next 2 days. I shouldn't have laughed in front of him, but I couldn't help it. Edit. The cat was returned, but in this case, it seemed to be the best outcome. Also, shelters aren't always the worst situation for an animal. We love our babies at our shelter. Edit 2. I'll update when he finds his forever home. I would take him myself, but I have a 13-year-old cat and a 2-year-old lab, so it's not the ideal house for the little guy. Update. Our boy Nelson has found his forever home. He got adopted 8 days ago, and I've been waiting to see if it stuck before posting. Nelson became a top priority to adopt out as he was one of our most difficult but favorite cats that we took care of. He became Pet of the Month and got the attention of an older gentleman who came in, get this, with a printed out copy of our Facebook post. It was very adorable of him. This man automatically took us as a great candidate for Nelson since he was an experienced cat owner. He had a bit of a sad story. His wife passed last year and their 18-year-old tabby passed 4 months ago. He was very lonely and wanted to get a new friend but didn't want to get a young cat. He's older and doesn't have the energy to take care of a demanding cat. Nelson was absolutely perfect. I've seen very heartwarming moments with pets and their new families, but this one was over the top. As you guys may remember, Nelson is a cranky cat that you can't help but love. He's not really nice, and he is standoffish, but I kid you not, when we brought him into the meeting room, he pranced over to the man and hopped up into his lap. My jaw almost hit the floor. After 30 minutes of Nelson celebrating, they went off back to his new home. The man has sent us updates on Nelson since then, and it seems to be going very, very well. I guess he speaks cat. And here's a pic of Nelson. Am I the jerk for telling my fiance's friends that they can't organize a party for his birthday because I already have plans? So my fiance, 28 male, and I, 27 female, have been together for 6 years. We're in the middle of planning our wedding, but that's besides the point right now. He's the love of my life and the best mate in the world, and I want him to be happy. So we live in a city that's close to some beautiful hills. Sometimes we go for drives in those hills. There's one little town that my fiance loves, even though he's never actually stayed there. It's his birthday next Friday, so I decided to take him on a mini holiday to that town. I found a cute hotel and researched and organized some activities that I know he'll love. We'll stay from Friday to Monday. I talked to his boss, and he agreed to let my fiance take 2 days off, but won't say anything to keep it a surprise. So yesterday, one of his friends messaged me and told me about a party they've been organizing for my fiance, and asked me to guide him to it without giving it away. The party was supposed to be on Friday night. I told them that we'll be out of town Friday night, but I'd help them throw it on Thursday. His friends then started blowing up my phone, telling me that it's uncool to take him away on his birthday without prior warning or discussing it with him, and that he'd probably rather spend his birthday having a beer with the boys instead of doing boring couple stuff. After some back and forth, I told them to buzz off and that they should have consulted with me and not the other way around. They said that they're going to tell my fiance about both of our plans so that he can decide what he wants to do. I asked them not to, as I went to great lengths to keep it a surprise, but they said it's only fair, and I should have remembered that they might want to do something, and that most of them have known him for longer than I have. I feel like I shouldn't have to ask for permission to take my fiance on a trip on his birthday, but maybe I should. Update. First things first, the surprise was not ruined. We got to go, and my fiance loved it. I followed your advice and told him that I had something planned that clashed with the plans his mates made, and that they are now threatening to ruin the surprise. I offered to tell him what I had planned, but he shut that down pretty quickly. He then called one of the boys and asked them what was wrong with them to pull this stunt, and that they should know by now that our birthday surprises are a very important part of our relationship and something we look forward to the whole year. After a rather lengthy talk with his mate, it turned out that the boys wanted one last big crazy birthday party before he got married, as they all felt like he was drifting away from them and that his priorities shifted. Fiance then told him that it's normal for priorities to shift when you're in a long-term relationship. He made it known that he was very disappointed with the boys' behavior towards me and that they needed to apologize. Apart from that, we had a wonderful weekend. We loved it and even ordered a blanket with his favorite photos of the trip on it. My fiance didn't go to the boys' night though last week, as no one had apologized to me. I guess that showed them that he was serious, and most of them called or messaged me afterwards with an apology, except for one bloke. Everyone apart from him will be coming to ours for a barbecue next week, and we're both hoping to be able to move past this rather unpleasant experience. I'm sorry. OP's significant other is standing up for them in a social conflict and actually being a good and supportive partner? I must be on the wrong subreddit today. My girlfriend broke down in tears because I didn't get one item from our grocery list. We were supposed to have supper. Let's say spaghetti with cheese on top. Not really, but I don't want to get too specific, and I didn't get the cheese. Some might say that it ruins the whole dish. Some might not care too much if it's not there. So we were out shopping together, and as we're going down the grocery list, I ask my girlfriend if we want cheese, to which she says no. We finish shopping, go back home, and I start making the dish while she showers. She gets out. I let it simmer for a bit and I go shower. Once I get out of the shower and I'm about to serve it, she suddenly asks if we bought cheese. I look at her and say we didn't. I say I even asked her if we should get it and she said no. She says she thought I was asking her about something else. To be fair, what I asked her and what she said she heard is different by one syllable in our language, and both of these things could go together with the dish I made. I assume that she did mishear me. At this point, she gets up and says she's not going to eat it. She's got leftovers from the fridge and went to the other room to eat. I figured it was best to let her be alone for a while, so I ate part of what I made for the evening. After some time, I go to check on her and she's laying in bed crying her eyes out. I was taken aback as this was not a reaction I expected at all. I tried talking to her, but she both refused to eat it without cheese and didn't want me to go and get it now. She was extremely upset and still crying a lot. She even told me she was very hungry and didn't eat much throughout the day, and now she feels even worse because we went shopping together, then she waited for me to put the dish together, but in the end, she couldn't even eat it. I know it sucks to not eat much throughout the day, so I could kind of understand where she was coming from. I decided at this point in time, there's not much else I could do but go and get the cheese, which I did. I come back and found her eating some snack we had left. I asked her if she would like to eat now, that we can heat it up, but she adamantly refuses to eat that dish and doesn't want to talk with me either. She earlier said she's going to be sleeping on the couch tonight. If she goes through with it, remains to be seen. I'm wondering what I could do to try and remedy the situation. Do I just let her be? I'm struggling to fully understand her point of view. As for me, it doesn't matter if it's a particular ingredient is missing or not. To some extent, I see where she's coming from, but not fully. Thoughts? Oh man, one time I was stressed out about a million things. I didn't sleep well, and I burst out in tears because a place was out of bagels. I'm guessing something else is going on with your girlfriend because that is a wildly disproportionate reaction to something mildly disappointing. The cheese is not the issue here. Sometimes if your plate is overflowing with stress, one simple meal you're looking forward to that didn't go as expected can crack that plate. I once had a last dinner with a long-term boyfriend before we broke up. I had leftovers. I was so stressed during that meal that I couldn't hardly eat, so I was looking forward to eating it the next day. My roommate's guest ate it. I cried over some pasta. There's always another reason, but she might not even know why. She was disappointed. Imagine if the boyfriend was the one who burst into tears over something like this. Do you think everyone would still be making excuses for him, or would they be calling him a man-child? This is how it always is. Girlfriend is acting like an idiot. Oh, there's deeper meaning to this. You need to find out what's going on with her. Guy acts the same way? Red flags, run. Bruh, I don't care if it's the boyfriend or the girlfriend. Anybody who acts this exhausting to be around, I ain't got time for that. My sister-in-law wants to name her daughter the same name as mine, but spelt differently. I'm 30, female, and my husband is male 32. We have one daughter, Madeline, who's 8. I have a sister-in-law, Jasmine, who's 32, and she's been having infertility issues for a while now. Jasmine and I aren't that close, but we are friendly to each other. She got pregnant a few months ago, and she had her gender reveal party about 2 weeks ago. Everyone was so excited and happy when we found out she was having a girl. During this year's family Christmas dinner, she announced that she was going to name her kid Madeline, but spelled differently, of course, as if that made it any better. Her daughter's name was going to be Madeline. I was completely shocked. Never in my wildest dreams did I expect that Jasmine would want to name her kid Madeline as well. If she told me before we named our daughter, I probably would have taken that into consideration before naming her. I asked Jasmine why she would want to name her daughter the same name as mine, and she said that technically it wasn't the same name since it was going to be spelled different. She also said that her great-aunt's name was also Madeline, and that she thought that Madeline was a cute name. I was really upset and told her she could have just told me before I named my daughter that she also wanted to name her daughter Madeline. She said that I was always such a jerk and that I probably would have named my daughter Madeline either way. I don't even know what I ever did to this woman. I then asked what we were going to do about the confusion of them having the same name, and she told me we could use my daughter's middle name. Like, what? I told her if anything, we should be calling her daughter by her middle name since my daughter came first. We went back and forth a few more times before I decided to leave early with my husband and Madeline. My daughter was also pretty confused and asked why her aunt would want to name her daughter the same name as her. I'm still really upset, and I hope she changes her mind. But this morning, my brother-in-law texted me and said that I should try to better understand Jasmine and her feelings. I texted him back and told him that she should stop being such a jerk and try to understand my feelings instead. I really don't think I'm a jerk, but am I? So, your daughter and your niece now share the same name. Big deal. I'm pretty sure you'll find Madeline's in her school. Will you ask them to change their names as well? I don't know if you've ever heard of something called a telephone book used before. If you open it up, you'll find plenty of people named Madeline. Will you ask them to change their names as well? Your feelings here don't matter, so quit trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, burning bridges over a name. You're the jerk. Today I messed up by taking naps under my office desk during work hours. I'm a civil engineer. I work in the engineering industry, which is one of the complicated technical industries. Sometimes at night, I review work reports before submitting them the next day. I have to make sure everything is 100% correct and safe. I start reviewing late, like at 12 a.m. or 1 a.m., then finish around 4 a.m. Mind you, this is during nights, especially when I'm dealing with a project with tight deadlines and complicated. The writing of the reports are, of course, earlier, like days earlier. My office has a desk. I've been taking naps under it for quite a while, actually. I moved the desk to a unique location, back in the corner of the office, facing the door. Since I'm a civil engineer, my work also requires outdoor work. So on days where I spent the night reviewing, I come to the department manager and tell her that I'm going outside to check on projects. She gives me the green light. What do? I go to my office, close the door. Offices can't be locked, but closed in my organization. Then I take a nap. I have my pillow and blanket under the desk. The desk is wide enough and big enough to take a nap there. Since it's a big city with traffic, assuming I'm outside, my naps are usually 30 to 40 minutes, sometimes 1 hour. A lot of the time, my team, also engineers, look for me because we work on group projects, but I was taking naps, which slowed down the work and their productivity. One day, my team was looking for me when I was taking a nap. They were looking for a project document that we worked on. I heard them, and I heard the manager's voice. They entered my office. I can feel my face under the desk was turning red. I was hoping that they would leave. Unfortunately, the project documents were inside my desk drawer. So they and the manager walked to check the desk drawer, and I was caught. All of them looked disappointed, and I didn't know what to do. I just stared at them while I'm down at the desk. It was the most awkward moment of my life. The most disappointed was my department manager. All she said was, "My office, now." She gave me a formal written warning and assigned additional responsibilities. Maybe it's just me being European, but have you thought about maybe working only during business hours? That's a very European concept. My friend, 40 male, keeps asking that I do chores in my own house, 32 female. He's staying on my couch for free. My friend lost his apartment when his dad passed. He had nowhere to go. I allowed him to stay on my couch until he gets his own place. He does not pay rent. However, since my friend moved in, he's been complaining I don't pick my stuff up right away. I work a lot of hours. Yes, I'll leave dishes, but not for long periods of time. Just have no desire to get to dishes after 11-hour shifts. My friend will mosey over and complain about dishes not being done. He will also do this with a few items in my bedroom. He tries to tell me to do the dishes or expects me to do them or clean my room. To this, I usually say, this is my apartment. I'm going to clean when I feel like it, because I'm the tenant. He gets frustrated thinking I should have the same mentality as him and even goes as far as to accuse me of taking advantage of him or something. He says, "Oh, so because it's your place, I should have to get treated this way? Huh?" He then mumbles statements at me about how he can't wait to not be around me at all. I'm confused to what I'm doing wrong or why he feels taken advantage of. He acts like he's in this really horrible situation, not having me do my own dishes right away. He states he has no say in anything, but I feel he's trying to tell me what to do in my own house. I can't help but feel like he's the one trying to be controlling. I mean, he wants to tell me what to do, which is clean my own stuff. He's the only one trying to tell me what to do, but I just don't let it happen. Do you think I'm manipulating this guy? Do not let him have any say in things, or is he just messed up? The only thing you're doing wrong is putting up with this entitled, selfish, judgmental, unappreciative, bad friend. He's mooching off of you and living there for free. He should be cleaning up after himself and you as a thank you. Kick him out and don't let people take advantage of you anymore. Karen's sister stole my iPad. She ends up really regretting it. I'm 17, female, and my sister, who's 15, has the habit of taking things from my bedroom and keeping them or losing them. My father has talked to her, grounded her, made her pay them back for it, but she just doesn't listen. My mom always takes her side and makes excuses for her. My dad had enough, so he bought me a small safe, against my mom's wishes, and I keep some jewelry, makeup, my diary, and gifts from my boyfriend, who's 19, Caleb. Caleb comes from an upper-class family, and he's always buying me stuff. Most of it gets stolen by my sister, but the most precious gift I have from him is an iPad Pro he gave me for my 17th birthday on February 14th. I love to draw. It's my hobby, my form of expression and how I relax. I used to do it on my laptop, but since Cal gave me the iPad, now I can do it in my free time during classes, in the train, or the garden. I have more options now. Cal also made a custom case that he painted with a lot of things for me. When I'm out of home, I leave it in my safe because it's one of the only things I don't want to lose. And to be honest, I don't want my sister putting her hands on it. I spent 2 days at my brother's, who's 21, apartment planning my little sister's birthday party. When I came back, I went to take the iPad to sketch some ideas, but I only found the case. I thought I had left it somewhere else, but I was sure I didn't. I also never took the case because it's my favorite thing. I looked around my whole room, my dad's office, and the garden, since I'm usually there all the time. I also called Cal and asked if I left it in his house, but he said no. When my family came back, I was awfully crying in the kitchen. My dad asked what happened, and I told him I couldn't find my iPad. My mom said very lazily, "Your sister lost it on the train yesterday." I asked, "What?" And she said, "Your sister took it to school and lost it. Accidents happen. Let it go." I was livid. I said that my sister opened my safe, don't know how, and stole my tablet. My mom told me to shut up and to never call my sister a thief again. My dad got involved, and after much fighting, he said that my sister had to pay me back. My sister just said that she didn't have money and attempted to go to her room, so I told her that I'll take the money for her party and just keep it for my iPad. She came right at me and told me that I couldn't do it. My mom sided with her and demanded the money, but I said, "No, she owes me. I get to keep it," and ran to my room. My father said that I could do it and buy another one. My brother transferred the money a few hours ago, and it's sitting in Cal's account because I don't have one yet. My sister has been crying because she just lost her Sweet 16 party and says a tablet is worth much less than that. ETA. My brother is coming home in around 20 minutes to talk to my parents. I don't know why, but it might be about my sister. Cal is also on his way here to install the lock. ETA. My brother took my parents and my sister out. I'm at home with Cal right now. He already installed the lock, and we're looking to buy some safes. Update. My brother just left. Apparently, my sister has been stealing from him too when she goes to his place. She admitted to just keeping the things to herself and that sometimes she can't help it. She acts before she can think about it. She admitted that she took my iPad, but claimed that her intention wasn't hurting me. That's why she left the case. She was planning on taking it to school, bragging about it, and then returning it since it was way too expensive and for once didn't want to take the risk. But apparently she did lose it or someone took it from her bag because she swears she didn't sell it or anything. I mean, after this, it's just pointless to keep lying. She went to her room and came back with a bunch of things, some mine, some my brother's, and some that belonged to our cousins and her friends. She even had one of Caleb's rings. We don't know how she did all of this, and she refuses to give that information. She also refuses to tell me how she broke into my safe. My parents are outside talking alone, and my dad let Caleb spend the night here with me. Not the jerk. If she cared about her Sweet 16 so much, she shouldn't be stealing. OP. Maybe she didn't think it would be related to that. To be honest, this is my first time snapping, so it's new to all of us. Am I the jerk for being too close to my ex-husband? 6 years ago, I got divorced from my now ex-husband. There was no drama that led to this. We simply realized we were no longer happy or in love, so it would have been a clean break if not for the fact we had a daughter who is now 11. Neither of us wanted to lose full custody of her or miss important moments in her life. She's the most important person in both our lives, and we debated on trying to make it work just for her, but realized that would only lead to all three of us becoming miserable. So we entered an arrangement that many would view as unconventional. When we sold our house, we used the money to buy 2 semi-attached houses that were joined and had a door installed between them. The construction company tried to warn us against this as it would affect resale value, but neither of us had any intention to sell, so we had them go ahead with it. We also had them take down the fence between both our back gardens so our daughter would have an extra large back garden to play in. Many of you may balk at the door, but there is an agreement. It's strictly for our daughter's use, and neither of us can use it barring any emergencies, say a fire, a medical emergency, or something being wrong with our daughter. She also has 2 bedrooms, one in each house, and every day she can pick where she wants to have breakfast, dinner, and sleep. I won't lie, it was awkward at first, but for her sake we made it work and even regained a lot of the friendship we had lost, though it was of course strictly platonic now. Last year, my ex-husband married his girlfriend of 3 years, a lovely woman who I'm actually friends with, and I was even a guest at their wedding, with my daughter being one of her bridesmaids. All in all, it's an arrangement everyone is content with, except for my boyfriend, who I started to date 2 years ago. He understood the arrangement entering into the relationship, and while he said it was a bit weird, he never protested and all seemed well. Things are getting more serious, and we've been discussing moving in together, and he has made it clear that he wants me to move, as he doesn't want to live next door to my ex-husband. I understood, but told him that wouldn't be happening, as my daughter had to come first, and our arrangement gave her a stable upbringing. He got upset with me and asked me how he was supposed to be a father to my daughter when she already had a dad, and he was literally a wall away. I won't lie, this took me by surprise, as I had no idea he wanted to be a father to her. I told him gently but firmly that he wasn't her father, that she already had one, and that even her father's wife didn't try to be a mother. Instead, she is called by her name. I told him if he wants some kind of familial title, he could be an uncle, but I wouldn't give him permission to take her father's title when he is very much involved in her life. He told me if I loved him, I'd move for him, and despite me trying to tell him I do love him, he isn't listening. Am I the jerk in this? Not the jerk. Sounds like you very clearly explained how things work in your world. Kudos for coming up with a unique parenting method that puts your daughter firmly as the most cherished outcome of your previous relationship. Your new boyfriend may not be compatible with your uniquely blended family. Bit of a red flag that he wants to appropriate the title of father. Good on you for nipping that in the bud. Well done, carry on. Without him, if he can't get the brief. OP. Even my ex-husband's wife doesn't get called mom or any variation of that. She is called by her name, and when my daughter is feeling particularly affectionate, a nickname. So yeah, I wasn't going to let him be father. Not the jerk, since you were honest with him from the beginning, and your boyfriend's "you don't love me" arguments seem to be his ego and insecurity speaking. Not gonna lie, but love the fact that you two put the love for your kid and her having some stability before your own egos and needs. Hope you have the strength and mental sanity to keep doing that, even if that would mean breaking up with your unreasonable boyfriend. Do him a favor and break up with him. He isn't going to be happy. You and your ex did this thing, and your ex is lucky he found someone who didn't have a problem with it. You may not be so lucky, but that is a chance that you're taking doing this. It's hard to move on, and most people are not going to want to pursue a relationship with this kind of arrangement. That works for you and you're happy with it, then that's good. There's no way to compromise here. You aren't budging, so break up with this guy and let him go. Actually, I would argue that hopefully any emotionally mature adult would see the beauty in this arrangement. Imagine getting involved with someone and you see firsthand how well they resolve such an issue and how they are able to make an unusual decision that ends up being the best for everyone involved. OP sounds like a catch to me. Not the jerk. Girl, run. Any man who isn't okay with you being close to your ex is a control freak and insecure. I always stay close to my exes, and I've never regretted it. Trust me, I've dated tons of guys, and the best relationships I've had were with secure men who didn't care what I did with my exes. Men need to realize we aren't their property. To be honest, I have hooked up with some of my exes on certain occasions just to spite a jealous boyfriend I had at the time, then made sure he found out to hurt him. Yowza. I know it sounds bad, but all my girlfriends do the same thing. You don't have to go as harsh as I do, but please don't settle for a loser control freak like most of these guys are nowadays. Just load the darn trailer. I used to work as quality assurance/control at a flour mill. For you to sink your teeth into your sandwich of delicious fresh bread, 3 things have to happen. 1. Flour has to be made. This happens at a flour mill. 2. Flour has to get to the bakery. This usually happens by trailer or truck. The trucking company, usually a separate company or business from the flour mill, has to put their trailer up to the scale and get loaded. Then they drive it to the bakery. 3. Bakery, where they make that high-carb goodness with crusts that your kids hate. One day, I get a call from one of the bakeries we serve. We unloaded the flour today, and our cameras got a bunch of dough balls going into the silo. Unacceptable. How can this happen? Trucks have to be washed every 3 to 4 weeks. If the trailer is not dried properly, then it retains some water from the final rinse. It mixes with the flour, creates dough, and delivers a subpar product. It causes a fermentation reaction. For some reason, since I'm quality control at the mill, everyone looked at me to fix this problem, which is really a problem with the trucking company and the wash stations they use. But I rose to the challenge. I called a meeting of the trucking company, the mill, and the bakery. I told them what was going on, explained that it was unacceptable, and came up with a plan. Before loading, every freshly washed trailer has to be inspected by me or someone else on quality control. We will not load trailers that the mill quality control does not release for loading. They all quickly agreed. Great idea. I get congratulated on fixing the problem. Until one Monday morning. We were supposed to load a trailer at 3 a.m. I was not supposed to be working then, but I came in just to inspect and sign off on the trailer. Delivery was at 7 a.m. It's a 3-hour drive to the bakery. Bob, the driver, was running late. I was getting mad, kept thinking of my bed and how I should be sleeping. Bob shows up at 3:30 a.m. with the trailer. Darn traffic, let's load this quick. Maybe I can still make it. Hold on, I have to inspect it. No, you don't. I have to make this delivery. Bob, I'm inspecting the trailer before we load it. Insults ensue. He starts making colorful accusations of my mother and my entire ancestral line. I ignore him. I climb up on top of the trailer. Soaking wet. I can see water on the bottom. The entire trailer was damp. I come down. Bob, we can't load this trailer. It's wet. You need to dry it. Drying takes about 25 to 40 minutes depending on the weather. More insults. Finally, he says, No, I'm not losing my job to bureaucrats who have no idea what traffic is like. I'm not drying this trailer. You're going to load the trailer, and I'm going to be on my way, like I've been doing for years. I was so tired, and I had a short fuse. Bob, are you going to dry the trailer? No. Malicious compliance ensues. Okay. I went to the head miller on site. I told him that the trucking company is refusing to dry the trailer. I'm not wasting any more time here. I've done my job, I inspected the trailer, I'm going home, and I'm going to sleep. I left. Bob found out I had left, and he said to loaders, Great, now you can load me up. They informed him that they couldn't load freshly washed trailers without quality signing off, and now no one is here to sign off. So sorry, you're going to miss the delivery. Bob called his boss. He complained that we were refusing to load his trailer. His boss called the head miller, who explained, per our agreement, quality couldn't sign off on a wet trailer. And since Bob refused to dry the trailer, quality's job was done. They inspected the trailer. There wasn't going to be another inspection, since the trailer was not going to be dry. So quality left. The trucking company. You need to call the bakery and tell them. They wanted the mill to take the blame. Oh, don't worry. We will be sure to call. And the head miller told the bakery what happened. The bakery fired the trucking company. Bob got fired from the trucking company. I got promoted. Just kidding, I didn't get promoted. Somehow my manager still blamed me for it. Something about using creative solutions. But nothing ever happened to me because of this incident. I don't care. No regrets. Imagine your spouse keeps calling you insecure for wanting them to check in with you. Then you find out they've been lying to you about where they've been going. That's exactly what happens in our next story. It just popped up on your screen. Give it a tap, come have a listen. You won't believe what happens next.